Okay, good morning. Kelly's on her way to the board meeting, but I want to call the meeting to order for the Board of Supervisors for June 13, 2017. And roll call.
Supervisor Foy. Here. Supervisor Long. Supervisor Bennett.
Here.
Supervisor Parks. Here. Supervisor Zerglus.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Look at that. Oh, just in time.
Yes, kid carpool.
Oh, yeah. The record reflect that Supervisor Long is here. And our next item is the minutes of the meeting for the Special District Board of Supervisors for June the 6th. Do we have a motion then? The first and a second, please vote. Okay. Our next item is agenda review. Michael?
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza. Item 17, Healthcare Agency Behavioral Health. Approval of agreements for augmented board and care services. A revised Exhibit 4 has been submitted. Item 39, Public Works. Receive and file the annual report of transit services provided in the unincorporated areas. A PowerPoint has been submitted. Item 44, Supervisor Bennett. Adoption of a resolution declaring the County of Ventura will continue to support climate action to meet the Paris Agreement. A revised resolution has been submitted. Finally, there's an addendum agenda item, closed session number 48, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one case. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any supervisors, anything else?
Mr. Chair, yes. I would like to ask that item 45, it's a library donation. A couple of people that are coming for that library donation, it's not time certain, and they needed to have some idea when to be here. So it's a very short item, I'm sure. If we could move it to 9:30.
9:30?
The board
Is that okay with the board? Okay. Okay. Item 45 be 9:30. Oh, let me. And this is the library. Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, I'd like to pull item number 16
Item 16. Okay.
for further discussion.
And I would also like to have 28 voted separately.
And 28 separately. Okay. And item 28. Parks and Law. Okay, so at this time, then we'll have the moment of inspiration. I'm sorry. Let's
make the motion.
get a motion. The second to approve. Okay, please vote. And that's approved. Thank you. Our next item is a moment of inspiration. We have this young man called Kevin Brendan. He's a real guppy outdoor fisherman that's really helped quite a few of our children. Come up and give us a little inspiration there, Kevin. And I understand that you go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much. I'll keep this short and sweet. I wanted to read a quick little testimonial real quick from one of our guppies that wrote one in. Her name is Ariel. She's 13 years old out of Oxnard. She said, "Hi, my name is Ariel Magana. I'm 13 years old. I'm part of the Guppy Outdoor Program. I like this program because it's fun to do on the weekends and fun for kids to enjoy themselves. And it's a great experience for the kids. I like helping the kids and the people that come. Also, I'm happy that I can be part of this program. There's always something new to learn. They have fun getting fish and other sea creatures. I hope to make new memories there, and my friends meet new people. I hope to show kids to explore new things and be open-minded about new things. Also to be kind to everyone there. Thank you, Norma and Kevin, for letting me be part of this great program. Thanks, Kevin, for being dedicated to the kids for the Guppy program. This will be the best summer ever." So,
Kevin, my understanding is that you take the kids out to the pier and
yes, actually
Ventura
this year we're doing 10 We used to do Ventura Pier only. So I host also a local TV show called Real Anglers Fishing Show. So I'm able to bring in some resources that I made in the industry over the last 4 years doing that to help partner with for the trips that we do, the adventures that we do. So this year we're doing 10 that we have on schedule, plus we have a few bonus ones with the Department of Fish and Wildlife. We're actually accredited by them as well. But yeah, we take them on Ventura Pier. It's pretty easy. That way they could come and go. We keep it about 3 hours from 8 to 11. We have hoop netting that they get to do so they could pull it up. We call it like a treasure chest. They never know what's inside. So we can teach them about the ecosystem and what goes on, starting from the plankton that we have here. I worked on fishing boats since I was about 10 years old, so I know a lot about what goes on out here. So I really want to make sure that the kids in our area get a chance to do that. So we partnered up with other organizations like Friends of Rollo. They cover the price of the boat, and then we cover the meals and the fishing poles and the fish cleaning and stuff, and just take them out for the experience. We usually take them out on the boat trips, take them out by the east end of Anacapa so they could see what it looks like. You know, they live 9 miles from the Channel Islands National Park, and they might not get a chance to get out there. So we take them in the back where the seals live so they could see all that. So it's all educational as well, hands-on. But yeah, we do about 10 trips, and then we've actually also added a couple Lake Casitas trips as well.
So I understand from my staff that you have a fish story. You caught a 3-foot, what was it?
Everything is gigantic, man. You know, it's a fish story. Yeah, except for the ones that get away. Those don't count, you know.
So I want to thank you really for coming in. I understand that some of the kids that you've taken, and we're a couple of miles away from the beach in Oxnard, and some of those kids have never seen the beach or been out
Never.
to the water at all. So.
And it's to see parents that come out or also think like their kids won't think it's interesting, like we call them the cool kids, like the teenagers. Even they have a blast. So we get everybody from 2 years old to 18. We have little fishing poles for the smaller kids all the way up to and it's a lot of problem solving, you know, let them use their imagination, let them try everything that's in the tackle box, use big fishing poles, small ones, and explain to them the whole, you know, when you go on boats, and you're trolling, you kind of move the numbers around so everybody gets a chance at a big one. So I kind of keep that. And also want to keep their attention span. If you just tell them sit there and hold the pole and wait, you're going to lose them. So it's better for them to have spinning reels than fidget spinners, you know. Better have tackle boxes and X boxes. So if you when I coached baseball, I know the kids that weren't really into it, you know, you lose them. So I don't care if you're looking at the clovers, you know, as long as you're out there having fun. If I just tell them not to do it, then they're not going to have interest in it. So really try to keep it.
I see a lot of our staff out there, casting their lines already.
Yeah. So we're also working with other programs as well. Like we work with the City Center, with the Battered Women's Shelter. You know, as a kid growing up, I was in a single home. My dad overdosed when I was like 5. My mom had substance issues, so to give back is big for me. So we're working with organizations like City Center, Oxnard PAL, Foster VC Kids, the Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and then we have a monthly class where the kids could come out and learn hands-on experiences too in the city of Port Hueneme. So really trying to cover the whole, you know.
Well, thank you so much for coming over and giving us a word of inspiration. My understanding is that Mr. Mike Powers was one of your...
Yeah, when I went through the VCLA, he came out and talked to, I think it was during the healthcare one, it was all about mental health, you know, and some of the stresses that come along with living in an environment like that, you know, like I did. So it kind of uses this as a metaphor for life in itself, you know. You know, teach them how to, you know, fish. They can fish forever, but all throughout life, you know, different problems that come up, they can kind of use it as a reflection. It helped me out when I was a kid, like I say.
So you're a real kid a little young kid when Mike went over to talk to you guys.
No, this was actually VCLA. I'm a Ventura County Leadership alumni, and he was the speaker.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate
Can
it.
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And just because I have kids and fishing is very important to our family. So you said you pay someone to clean the fish, or do you actually teach the kids
on the boats,
biology?
Well, that when we're doing on the pier,
Yeah.
we have them there. And then we also use we call them major guppies, ones that have come through the program, to show them how to do it.
Good.
But on the boats, though, the deckhands, you know, fillet the fish in a process that we call it. They fillet them up and put them in a bag on ice, so when they get home, they could even cook the fish.
I just think it's always such a great time to teach them biology and science, and it gets them involved in so many other job opportunities when you kind of go through that. It's something that not everyone thinks about, but I think it's a great program.
Absolutely
so thank
right.
you.
Yeah. I left some brochures with you guys. You guys can take a look.
With
the Real Anglers Fishing Show, if you check that out, you can see some of our videos, and you can see how they, you know, get hands-on and learn about that kind of stuff. So
Great. Thank you.
Camo, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. And thank you for helping the
time,
children.
man. This is exciting.
Thank you. And I understand you're going back to work right now. So.
Yeah, I got to go to punch the clock now.
Good man.
Oh, do you want to trade?
I'll be up there one day.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then our next item is consent, the consent items, 11 to 33, and we have 16 and 28, 16 and 28. So go ahead. You want to share a little bit about 16, or you want to pull it out completely?
It was pulled out completely.
And then, and 28. Right?
And that was pulled out completely too.
Okay, so let's go ahead and vote on the remaining. Okay, we got a first and a second. Let's go ahead and vote. Okay,
For the record, that's 11 through 15, 17 through 27, and 29 through 33.
yes, sir. Okay, so, and we'll take item 16. Kelly?
Yes, I was waiting for her to come up to the Dyson.
Okay.
Well,
Or the
I
speaker.
think though, before you go,
Okay.
we've got to hear this wonderful voice again.
I knew you were going to do that.
Very, very good.
Come on, you can't.
That was the only reason why I because I love her voice, and she just sung so
Excellent.
well at the VCNC.
Yeah.
Good
All
morning.
this
The
talent.
CD is coming out in 2 weeks, so.
We might lose you.
Elaine Crandall, Behavioral Health Department Director. Thank you.
Thank you. The reason why I brought this up is we had a very long discussion last week on farm worker aid program.
Yes.
And part of it, when we heard in the audience, was the sexual harassment and certain things that happen in the workforce. My concern when I speak to people, sometimes they hit depression and post-traumatic syndrome and so forth of behavioral health due to items in the workforce. And so my concern is communication and collaboration versus cost. My concern is the layering of government and making sure that we're transparent. So I pulled this out because I felt it was important to at least have this conversation. Whether this is a duplication or not, I wanted to make sure that people understood what this was.
Thank you.
Especially me. I knew you voted for this in December, and it was not mentioned at all at the last board meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's a good question to ask. And I think in terms of good government, that's the way we should approach everything we do, very systematically and making sure, that the touchstones actually line up. This particular project, the innovation project with the mixed echo population, is designed to be a clinical study. As we know, can you hear me all right? As we know, the mixed echo population, along with all Latino populations, actually have a difficult time coming into behavioral health systems. There's between stigma, language, and other access issues, that the fact that we're a government entity, it makes it very difficult for them to access services. We have also heard that once they come in, the type of therapy that's provided is not necessarily aligned, especially for those first-generation immigrants, with it doesn't comport with the way they understand healing. So this particular project is designed to study that. What occurs in the indigenous healing practices that can be adopted into a traditional or complement the traditional healing practices for behavioral health. So I don't think that particular work interfaces too much with the idea that was discussed last week, which sounds like it's more educational, more resource driven, and less clinically, probably not clinically driven at all. There might be some intersection in terms of communication, which I hope will happen, that people who are on the board, the study board, understands that there's a group of people looking at things like work practices and may provide some referrals over. I don't know if it'll come over to the study, but they might be study subjects. That's the only place I can see where there might be some kind of intersection, but I don't see that intersection as an overlap.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I understand that the budget of the $174,000 is coming from a certain spot.
Yes.
And it's not from the general program fund. So I just wanted to make sure that we had clarified that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
Supervisor, let me add a little bit to that. I was in the BHAB board when for the first project happened, but this is an innovation project, and there's innovation projects that I think are innovative, and that was the whole concept behind that. And the Mixteco community was one of those groups that we believe was a good opportunity to start that innovation project and help them. And it's really helped us tremendously for the communication process because quite a few of those individuals don't really speak Spanish or English for that matter. So we have individuals like Arsenio and so forth that really helped us out quite a bit, So I think it's really a worthwhile project, personally, because being in the BHAB board, and that was discussed quite a bit, So anyway, I think it's really a good project.
And I would just add, a year or two ago, we had a lot of concern about not having good outreach to the Latinx population, and being able to do this also helps us reach out more into that population because we're finding that we're just not doing it as well as we need to.
All right, well,
Go ahead.
The last point I would raise is that this is going to be very data-driven as well, so we're not just going to put the money out there and hope something good happens. We're actually going to survey folks and see if there's improvements and really just be data-driven and outcome-driven.
And that's a good point.
Back to your point.
that would be great, and I hope that this information is also shared to whatever that program committee does.
Yes, absolutely. And when we presented it out to the Oversight and Accountability Commission at the state, that's one of the things they asked for us, because if the hypothesis is true that we can improve our clinical services from what we learn here, this is something that the state can benefit from.
Great.
And one of the things, too, that we're going to get data back on the program as it
Absolutely.
progresses.
Well, then I'd like to make the motion.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, and that's approved. Our next item 28.
Thank you.
Yeah, excuse me, I would like to vote no on this item, so that can be noted.
Okay, so we got a first and a we'll give a
This is,
second.
for the use of glyphosate in the waterways, which has been found to be a toxin.
Okay, let's vote.
Keep me on my toes.
Do what I say, not what I pushed.
Okay, that's approved. Okay, thank you. Our next item is public comments, and I do have one speaker, and it's Kiki Lyon.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kiki Lyon. I'm a commercial property and business owner on the Ventura Avenue, and I'm actually a third-generation business owner on Ventura Avenue. I was born and raised in Ojai. I went to Cal Poly. I have an MBA, and in 2006, I moved back to the area and started working for my parents' general engineering company, whose niche is in the oil and gas sector. My brother and I started our own company, CD Lion Incorporated, in 2011. And I'm currently in the final stages of getting my company certified as a woman-owned business. I'm on the Ventura Chamber of Commerce Energy Committee. I also volunteer for the Boys and Girls Club of Ventura and currently serving as their vice president, or board vice president. I love Ventura County because we have everything from beaches to mountains. I love being outside, whether it's hiking with my 2 dogs or on a trail ride with my horses. I like fishing, wakeboarding, golfing, and Tuesday night co-ed softball team. Working in the energy industry, I get to see and appreciate a lot of the safety measurements and steps the energy companies are taking, such as implementing renewables like solar panels to their facilities. In 2014, my parents' company was working around 250 employees who are all Ventura and Santa Barbara County residents. Currently, their company is about a third of the size due to the dip in the energy industry. Despite the downturn, I have high hopes and expectations of growing my company to be one of Ventura's top energy service contractors with a reputation of quality work and an excellent work culture for CD Lion's entire workforce. I hope my business will be able to remain in the energy sector, considering this county was founded on agriculture and oil. And I noticed on the seal, the oil derrick. Appreciate that. My dad was able to provide for his family working in the energy industry, and I hope to be able to do the same. And I hope my nieces and nephews and my coworkers' families get the same education and opportunities the energy industry provided for me. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Kiki, for sharing.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, our next, I don't have any additional public speaking cards, so we're going over to board comments. And Supervisor Parks?
Well, with the rest of the board, we got to enjoy some pretty major events, particularly the opening of the VCNC North Tower and hearing Elaine Crandall. But it was just I actually went on a second tour and realized how much more there was there than I already knew from the first tour, just the state-of-the-art technology and the incredible thought that went into it all. But it was a wonderful day and a major hallmark to our county to be able to have opened that, done it on time, within budget, though big a budget it was. But it's just such a great service for our county that will be a legacy for many decades to come. And then also, speaking of decades, being able to help celebrate Mike's 25th anniversary here at the county with an amazing cake, the outline of the county on it. And a pleasure to also be at Kelly's open house and see her new offices. I was also able to do the welcoming introduction for the Alzheimer's Association annual conference here, it was in Ventura. And it was just really shocking when you look at those numbers, and something that we'll do some more investigation with our senior summit. But just to realize in the next dozen years, the number of people with dementia is going to about double. And you just realize how important it is to be able to have services available, knowing that that is going to happen. And our county was just recently certified as a dementia-friendly county, one of only 2 in the state of California. So that is a good effort that we're going to be putting forward and hopefully emulated by others. I also was able to attend the Thousand Oaks Senior of the Year. They do that every year. This year they honored Patricia Grant. She was the Senior of the Year, and these are our senior citizens who donate a lot of their time in volunteering, and it was a great group of folks, whether they made it to this Senior of the Year or just being nominated. It was an incredible feat because of what they do for our community out there. And then they also did a special recognition of Harry Norkin as the Senior of the Decade. And Harry also continually wins the Eldest Active Senior Award at our senior summits. He's well into his 90s and just still remains a wonderful contributor to the senior community and to others. And also, we'll be hearing later about the Oak Park Community Emergency Response Team, the CERT team, so I'll hold my comments on that and ask that the board close in honor of the people on my list. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Bennett?
Thank you, Supervisor Zaragoza. I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of the people on this list. And we all did have the opportunity to do quite a few things together this past time, but the celebration of the hospital is one of those truly rare moments, and it was a great positive event. But I do think, and I know he wants to emphasize the teamwork side of it, but if you look at the long history of getting us to the hospital being built, certainly Mike Powers has to realize that he drove the biggest spike of everybody in that stuff. So that was a great day, and it's a great facility. And to now have everybody go out and be able to, for our professionals, to have the most modern hospital facilities that you can find in the world at this point in time, to be able to carry out this special county mission that we have is something that all of us really should be proud of. With that, I enjoyed being at Supervisor Long's opening that we had there, and I wish her well down there in Camarillo. I had the opportunity to speak to the Surfrider organization about water in Ventura County. It was a great conversation. Really enjoyed that. And spoke to the Faria Beach Homeowners Association this week, and they have some unique challenges down there at Faria Beach. So it's a busy week for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Long?
Good morning. Sorry I'm late. Kids carpool. Yeah. you're a
We thought you
parent.
were over in the accident, there was a major accident.
It was a really bad
Carmen and-
accident. You know, it just combines. Since you wake up to all the different things. Anyways, I just want to again thank you to everyone who showed up for the open house. I told my staff that I was really concerned that no one was going to ever show up. You know, it's one of those things where you wake up and dream, and no one's there. So I just appreciate everyone being there. It was fabulous, and just so many good opportunities for networking for our community, and so many people didn't know different things, and therefore it was great. Just wanted to let you know that the city of Camarillo is doing their public hearings for the desalter, talking to the community about the location, the history of it, and so forth. So we attended that. Also, congratulations again to our Santa Paula juniors. There were 7 students that are in the FFA who received from the CAG organization $300 each, and they're raising their hogs. And I talked to a couple of the guys, and they're going to be doing tractor racing, which is pretty awesome to get in there and do the engines and so forth. So they're learning life skills, and many of them stated that if they hadn't had that program, they don't know where they would have been today. And to make sure that they graduate from high school and actually are looking at going to college or to vocational classes and so forth. That's extremely important, especially in Santa Paula. So I just wanted to say congratulations to those that are making that happen and making a difference in these students' lives. Don't know if you guys know, but the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Oxnard and Port Hueneme won the Oxnard Trophy for the Oxnard Chamber of Commerce. It was a fabulous event. Thank you, John Zaragoza, for being there as well. Recognizing in the community how important the Boys and Girls Clubs are, and I appreciate the community stepping up and supporting them as well. Then also the Habitat for Humanity, we had finally finished the 8 houses in Santa Paula. These houses were very unique for the fact that the families were able to purchase them. And it was a great stint. I know so many people who worked on those houses since 2014, and to see a community come together and to support and give them the opportunities to get the lending so that they could do those houses is great. Also, IBEW, did you know that it took 4 to 5 years of apprenticeship to graduate from the IBEW apprenticeship program, and talk to the electrical and so forth that are there, and they're doing great. And then congratulations to our Sheriff's Department for Lockwood Valley. I wanted to give this chance just to say I'm proud of you guys getting that grant so you can make sure that our wilderness is safe. I know the summer is coming and everyone's excited to get outside and play. However, sometimes we have to rescue, and to give them the tools that they need to do that is extremely important. With that, I'd like to adjourn in the memory of the people on this list, and be safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Foy.
Yeah, just real quick, I appreciate the opportunity to be at that opening, and it was just great to see all the people excited about what they're doing, because there's been a lot of people that are around a long time, and I appreciate Mike and his team and all that did that, and just as somebody that sat on that oversight, listening to all these things for the last 10 years, 10 and a half years, it's exciting for those people to, Dr. Wong and a few that are out here now that get that opportunity to see the dream come true and to work in there. And I did have the opportunity to try that Da Vinci out. You probably don't want me working on it, but it was good. You know, and it just talks about healthcare in this county. I know we all talk about that, but they gave me a little note here that, Ventura County leads the state in child cancer, survival rates. And
that's fantastic.
Healthcare is important in this county, there's no question, and the big investment that was made, and not just here, all the other hospitals, people care about what's going on. So it's great to see that. So anyway, I also want to adjourn a member of the people on this list, and I do owe Rosa another match, so.
So Supervisor, I understand that I saw a photo of you that a little child helping you out with the Da Vinci.
Yeah, the kid was so much better.
He was only 8 years old, right?
Yeah, well, anyway, we know that young man, and we're hoping that he had some learning experience that was there, but Mr. Powers is still walking, so I'm not sure. We're teaching him how to do Charlie horses on his dad. So.
Yeah, we were.
Well, I'm great, and I also want to thank Kelly, for her grand opening. And I called my wife and it says, Mary Ellen, don't make any dinner because I'm going to have tacos over at Kelly Long's grand opening. So anyway, it was great, Supervisor. But one of the great things that you did was you told me to take some tacos to Mary Ellen, and she was really grateful because you didn't have to make dinner. So she says, thank you so much for the tacos. They were great. Also, Lourdes and myself attended the 67th Annual Community Business Awards for the Oxnard Chamber, as a supervisor mentioned, and I presented certificates on behalf of the board for this year's recipients. And again, the Boys and Girls Club was one of the major recipients. And one of the things that I kind of like what they said, that one of the biggest things they accomplished this year was the Nyland Acres Center, the Boys and Girls Club. So it's really great. Additionally, also, my whole staff attended the VCMC new hospital wing ribbon cutting. It was just excellent. Dr. Wong did a good job. Michael, it's just absolutely great. And I tried the Da Vinci before, my staff and it's really fascinating what we can do with that. But one of the things that really highlighted, and my staff would not let it die, is that, I was born at VCMC a couple of years ago. And I got baptized, little Johnny Supervisor.
What's that new name?
Supervisor Johnny.
Baby Johnny, okay.
Baby Johnny. Anyway, the whole family knows about it now, so it was great. It was just Mike, thank you again for, and the team, and Doctor, for your good, comments and your good work, and of course, all our people there at VCMC is just fantastic. Very proud of that hospital. Also, like the supervisor mentioned too, that I attended the IBEW apprenticeship. Those electricians took them 4 to 5 years to become journeymen. They're just really fascinating what they can do, and we have some great people training our people, and Tony Skinner did a really good job, and we presented certificates again on behalf of the board, the supervisor, Kelly Long, and myself. And also, I just want to share that over at the harbor now we have the kayaking launching ramp that's been added to the Channel Islands Harbor. This makes it it's called an easy kayak launch. It's located near the boat launching ramp, and visitors can now access that launching ramp, and it's really helped out quite a bit. One of the problems that we had before is people wanted to use kiddie beach to launch their kayaks, but that's not too great because we have kids playing there. So now this kayaking launching ramp has really helped us out. So we're going to get some more data coming back from that. And again, the Harbor Department is giving that a trial, and we'll see what happens. And we've had so far some positive comments from that too. And additionally, one of the things that, again, Miriam wanted to find us on the picture. Who baked that beautiful cake for you, Mike? 25 years of excellent service to the community. It's a big old cake with it was modeled after
No advertisement here, but it was a place called the Sugar Lab. And it's run by the daughter of our former HR director, Kelly Schur. So,
excellent.
good economic development there.
And again, then I thank you so much for that, and congratulations on 25 years of excellent service to the Ventura County. And I'd like to adjourn in memory of the folks on this list. Okay, Michael?
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza, board members, and again, thank you all for being there and your great comments at the opening. As I said at the time, it would have been very easy not to do this, but your board had the courage to do it, and that's why we're here. That's just the bottom line. And one of the things that I got to do later is there was a Healthcare Foundation event in the evening, same location, a lot of the similar presentations and so forth, but the docs were there, and probably a couple hundred of them. And I just want you to know how appreciative. You could see the looks on their faces, and Dr. Wong was out there too, expressing the appreciation of the medical staff. I can't even describe to you how appreciative they are and what they're able to do and what they're going to be able to do. I happened to be speaking with one of the newer trauma surgeons, and so you heard that day also that the hospital just received its American College of Surgeons recertification for trauma. So the wonderful trauma system that you designated has actually even gotten more wonderful, if that's possible. And this new trauma surgeon, he said they just had a great stay the other day. Patient came from another hospital, massive internal bleeding. He just, in his mind, the patient really didn't have much chance, but day and a half later, interventional radiology, surgery, and so forth, saved him. And just, that's the kind of thing that's happening at your hospital because of the support. So thank you. It was a great event at Supervisor Long's event. In addition to the food and the festivities, great way to connect with the city and local chambers there too. So I appreciate that. I want to congratulate the Sheriff's Foundation. They got their largest donation ever, I think, from the Richard Grossman Foundation, $750,000 to establish a scholarship fund for the children of Ventura County Sheriff's employees. So just thanks for that foundation and Dr. Grossman and his family. I think I mentioned on the trans, we did the borrowing yesterday, and we got good rates, 0.89, 89 basis points, which was better than any other counties that we were aware of. So that went well, good financially. I also attended, along with Supervisor Long, the Probation's Results First Initiative. This is we're like this, I think the 5th or 6th county in the state to do this, and probation and the justice team's efforts to reduce recidivism. And it's a partnership with CSAC and the P. MacArthur Foundation. Again, we're very data-driven here, and that's what it's about, and I spoke at the beginning of that, and it'll be interesting to see the results as those come out. Again, we'll see what works and what doesn't. And then lastly, attended the VCOG annual dinner at Limonara Ranch and heard the story told by Harold Edwards from, I think, 1870-something till now of the incredible history of the company, the community-based company, and some of the, it's a legacy family company, but it's also a very modern company, including their energy efforts. And they're, in fact, have just entered into a deal with Tesla to have battery storage next to their solar orchard there, so they can store some of that energy well and just be really energy efficient and independent. So that's it. Thank you very much.
So Mike, real quick on the credit rating, that's going to save us a tremendous amount of money for the people that are watching. This is our FICO score, and we have, for a few personal, FICO score is about 890 maybe is the best, and we're about 889?
Top.
890, so.
There you go.
And again, we got to congratulate our staff, and all our agency directors for helping us, maintain this credit rating.
Thank you, Chair. Now that you mentioned that, I really do want to recognize Catherine Rodriguez and Kay Mann. A ton of work goes into all the spreadsheets and the data. Your board, I know yourself, Supervisor and Supervisor Foy participated in the presentations, and then the auditor's office, Joanne McDonald, Jeff Berg, Jill, and Roy, and others. It takes a lot to put together all that data for this huge, complex organization. So
anyway, we have an excellent FICO score, write that down. Thank you. Supervisor Long.
I forgot to make an announcement on 2 items. One is there is going to be an Ormond Beach Restoration and Public Access first public meeting. That'll be on June 21st. It's at the Oxnard Pacific Performance.
Yeah.
You can see more on their website. Yeah. And then also with Hank Lacayo, he's having a celebration of life. It'll be on Saturday, June 24th at Channel Islands. It's on their link, and it's from 4 to 7. I know he's done so much for this county and wanted to make sure. I waited to everyone to see if we were going to mention it, so I just wanted to mention both those. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, what are we, item 45, Ryan?
Move that to 9:30.
Oh, that's the one that we moved to 9:30, you're right, okay. Okay, then, so.
Move the correspondence agenda?
Correspondence, okay.
There is none?
Yeah, but if there was one, no.
So do we have time for a closed session? Do you want to just take a 9-minute break? Leroy, can we do something in 9 minutes? But we can.
Well, we can go for labor.
Okay, why don't we take we'll go to a closed session, we'll be back at 9:30. So we're going to continue our board meeting for June 13th. Leroy, do we have anything to report at this time?
No, we do not, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so now we have time certain 9:30, item 45. Supervisor Bennett?
Well, this is not actually my item. This is the library department that brought this forward.
Okay.
But I'm certainly delighted to find ourselves in this situation of receiving a $200,000 contribution from Santa Barbara Friends of the Library, and they've done a great job of holding
Ventura
together.
Friends of the Library.
What's that?
Ventura Friends of the Library.
You said Santa Barbara.
I'm sorry, I meant to say San Buenaventura.
He just crossed both.
Yeah, there you go. But they've held the organization together really well. There's been certainly been challenges with the whole issue of East Side Library Services and stuff. So really appreciate the Friends of the Library. So thank you very much.
And
Turn it over
welcome.
to the Library Department.
Good morning. Good morning,
morning.
Chair Zaragoza and members of the board. I'm Nancy Schramm. I'm the Deputy Library Director for the Ventura County Library System. The item before you is a recommendation for approval of the one-time funding needed in support of the new East Side Ventura Branch Library. The City of Ventura has joined the Ventura County Library System since 1916 in providing library services. And in 2012, with no library on the east side of Ventura at that time, the city conducted a library strategic plan, and it was determined at that time that there was a need for library services on the east side of Ventura. So recognizing that need, your board voted to approve $200,000 into the library's operating budget in support of a new East Side Ventura library. So library staff set out to find a location that was well suited for library services and identified a location that is at 1050 South Hill Road in Ventura. It is ideally suited for a library because it is directly across the street from the government center where lots of people come and do business. It's on a bus route and it's in close walking distance of lots of neighborhoods and schools as well. So in December of last year, your board did vote to approve a 10-year lease at that location. This year, library staff has been working hard to plan our new library, and we did determine that there is a need for $500,000 in one-time funds to support our new library. Broken down, that looks like $200,000 for library furniture and shelving, $200,000 for IT and equipment, and $100,000 for collections, so for books, materials for our new library. So taking a look at that need, library staff approached the Friends of the San Buenaventura Library and talked to them about the possibility of supporting our new library. I would like to really emphasize here that our Friends of the Ventura Library stepped up with a commitment of $200,000 in support of this new library. So $200,000 of the $500,000 needed for these one-time funds. The Friends of the Ventura Libraries, this is a grassroots fundraising organization. They raise funds by selling literally one book at a time. This is hard work. They are selling books at greatly reduced prices, often for 25 cents a book. So a commitment of $200,000 is significant, and it is so greatly appreciated and very much needed, and we are so grateful. Additionally, library staff also identified a need for additional funding, and so we are recommending approval of $100,000 to be taken from trust funds, from library trust funds. We're recommending use of the Lundy Trust, a bequest that was given to the library in 1999 to be used for materials for the new library. And also, we are recommending approval to use $200,000 from the library's assigned education fund in support of the new library, which would match the commitment from the Friends of the Library. So our recommendation is to approve acceptance of the donation from the San Buenaventura Friends of the Library in support of the new East Side Ventura Branch Library in the amount of $200,700. Authorization of the expenditure from the library's assigned education fund in support of the East Side Ventura Branch Library, and up to $100,000 from the Lundy Trust to be used in support of the new East Side Ventura Library. So this concludes my report this morning, and I'd be happy to answer any
And Nancy, do
questions.
you have any friends of the library here today?
I do. I have
What-
Kathy Thompson, who's our president
What
of
do we
the
have a
Friends of
stand
the
in-
Library, and Jill Foreman, who's a member of
We
our
want to thank you
Friends of
so
the
much for
Library.
that. It's really, thank you. That is so great, for the community. And my understanding is that the Hill Street Cafe is going to give coffee there.
I had not heard that,
I'm not
but I
advertising
like
for
it.
her, but it's going to be right adjacent to it, right, or part of the building?
Directly adjacent to the
Yeah.
Hill Street Cafe. Library staff actually had lunch at the Hill Street Cafe about a month ago. We did reach out to the owners, we talked to them, and they're very excited about the library moving in next door.
And it's close to the government center too, which is really ideal, for our folks too, which is, I think is great.
Yes,
Thank
we're
you.
directly across the street.
What's a pleasure of the board here? Mr.
I'd like to certainly make the motion to support accepting this, and again, repeat my comments very briefly, but remarkable, as she talked about that, they're selling books sometimes at 25 cents a book, and
That's right.
$200,000 is a significant effort on their part in terms of moving forward. But this is what government does things best when it's able to partner with the community. The community really is passionate. They've stepped up. They're demonstrating their commitment with $200,000, and so to be able to have the opportunity to present this program was just a classic kind of thing that has the county carrying out its mission, and it's the young people of the east side of Ventura that will really benefit from this program as it goes forward. With all the technology that's in there, they really need that, and certainly our low-income residents in particular. So thank you very much. I'm certainly proud to be able to make the motion.
Thank you, Nancy, and also the Lundy Trust, thank you.
And
Supervisor Long?
I'd also like to thank the Friends of the Library and Nancy. I look forward to working with you on the Fillmore Library. I know you haven't heard that coming to yet, but you will in a board
Okay.
meeting, and I look forward to working with you on that as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Likewise.
Thank you so much. Please vote. Okay. And that's approved. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
And again, the Friends of the Library, thank you so much, and the Lundy Trust. Thank you. Okay, our next item is item 34. We have somebody who's going to be retiring. Supervisor Bennett?
Thank you very much, Supervisor Zaragoza. And Mr. Lipson, thank you for approaching the, not the bench, but the dais, right?
Also, before we get started, I'm a proud friend of the library. I've been a friend of the library for years. My wife and I give all our books there, so they did a great job.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. It is always a distinct honor, and I really mean that. At this time, we have a resolution that basically lists the career of Mr. Lipson, and I learned a whole lot about some employees that we've been working with, things that none of us knew. So I'm going to do the unusual thing, which is actually read the resolution from beginning to end, because it is probably the most appropriate way for us to recognize the long career you've had in terms of the public service that is out there. So this is a resolution of the Board of Supervisors honoring Stephen P. Lipson, Ventura County Public Defender, for 30 years of outstanding service to the County of Ventura. Whereas Stephen P. Lipson has protected the legal rights of Ventura County residents in innumerable ways, most notably through the Public Defender's Office. And Mr. Lipson graduated from the University of California at Santa Barbara in 1980 with a bachelor's degree in history, and the University of Oregon School of Law in 1984. Mr. Lipson took and passed the California State Bar in December of 1984 and was hired as Deputy Public Defender, where he worked from 1985 until 1986, litigating jury trials for the Tulare Public Defender's Office. Mr. Lipson moved to Ventura County in 1986 and joined the Ventura County Public Defender's Office, where he continued developing his skills as a trial attorney, which resulted in moving up through the ranks of his office into felony jury trials in 1988. Mr. Lipson also manifested impressive skills on the basketball court. I don't want everybody to be distracted here.
That was a long time ago, and a few neck surgery ago, but Mr. Smith can still play. I watch him at lunchtime sometimes.
And particularly after the NBA Finals last night, I think that Mr. Lipson's probably going to have a second career here. But Mr. Lipson manifested impressive skills on the basketball court, including a very well-respected outside jump shot that was instrumental in the decisive victory by the Public Defender's Office over the County District Attorney's Office, led by then
Is that right, Greg?
Chief Deputy District Attorney, but now Superior Court Judge Vincent O'Neill in 1997. So I see our district attorney here. Mr. Lipson, due to his dedication, work ethic, and trial skills, was promoted to senior attorney with the Public Defender's Office in 1998. Shortly after the jump shot, I'm sure that had nothing to do with the promotion. And Mr. Lipson was recognized by his peers in the Ventura County Criminal Defense Bar Association with a Lifetime Achievement Award in 1993. He was promoted to the position of Chief Deputy Public Defender, assigned to supervise over 50 Deputy Public Defenders in 2006. Mr. Lipson was once again promoted to the position of Assistant Public Defender, second in command of the Public Defender in 2008. And Mr. Lipson was finally promoted to the position of Department Head of the Public Defender's Office in 2010, responsible for managing over 100 county employees that routinely represent over 80% of all the residents of Ventura County charged with a criminal case. And Mr. Lipson's leadership role in the County of Ventura has remained active. Besides his leadership role in the county, he's remained active nationally, serving as the president of the American Council of Chief Defenders, and also as a member of the board of directors of the National Legal Aid of Defenders Association. Mr. Lipson has dedicated his entire career to defending the rights of the poor, championing the cause of the less fortunate, and insisting that every resident of our community be treated with respect and dignity, ensuring equal justice for all. And Mr. Lipson has elected to retire after 30 years of outstanding service to the County of Ventura, to spend more time with his family, working on screenplays with his brother, and traveling the world. Mr. Lipson will truly be missed by his colleagues, staff, and the community he has served. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors is proud to honor Mr. Stephen P. Lipson for his outstanding service to the residents of Ventura County and wish him the best in his retirement. Thank you very much. Before we turn it over to you for any sage comments, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Powers, any board members that have any comments that you'd like to make.
Thank you, Supervisor. I only wish our district attorney could have seen the look on Mr. Lipson's face when they talked about the PD's office beating him in basketball. So, anyway, it's a great privilege to honor Steve here today. A couple things I know about Steve that I know is so important to him is the quality of service his office provides, and that starts with the attorneys, the legal assistants, the paralegals, the technicians, everybody there. He is so proud of the quality of people and the quality of service, and they just have a great reputation, our office does, up and down the state. I hear it, and it's well deserved. Also, his passion for the work that they do is just relentless, I can tell you. And you see it in a lot of different ways, whatever the issue is, including during budget time. But what we love about Steve is that he's just a straight shooter. If he says he needs something, he really means it. There's no bluster or exaggeration, and he's just built great credibility, and it's made our jobs a lot easier. And we just appreciate that straightforwardness that you've had with our office and working. And how persuasive he is. I don't know if listening to him, watching him discuss issues with our sheriff and DA and other folks, and you can tell there's a lot of mutual respect there that the justice partners have for Steve and his perspective. And The last thing I'd say is that that one of the things I love too about his leadership approach is that he looks, and his office looks at the root causes of the people they're defending. Not just that particular bad situation they're dealing with, but whatever other issues in their life may have caused it, whether it's alcohol and drug abuse or mental health issues or the need for job training, education, whatever it is, they try to set people on a better path through life. And I just think that speaks great of the office and Steve's leadership. So just, Steve, congratulations and thank you. And we haven't even heard about your tennis exploits yet, so I'm waiting to hear that. So anyway, congratulations and thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Stephen, I just want to share, that I understand that you're unique from other counties because you actually get along with the DA's office. Is that correct? And also with the public safety officials, which I think is commendable. And I've had the opportunity to call your office when somebody comes to my office, and I want to give it to your subordinates, but you take over. And I think that's really, really important. We commend you for that, and I'm sure you're going to have a fine retirement. And thank you and your family and your staff too for the excellent work you've done for the last 30 years for the County of Ventura. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor.
Yeah, I would just also say, you have one of the most respected professions in my mind, and I just really appreciate your service to the county, but particularly to the clients that you have served and that your staff has served. Just realize in this day and time that it's usually people, there's social justice issues, the type of folks that you are defending are people who often can't afford to get personal attorneys, and to be able to give them the greatest service that you have is just such a respectable thing to be able to do for people, and protecting people who are innocent. So I just thank you for the work you've done, and it just really says a lot that you were able to rise up the ranks to where you are today, and that you have also set in place a good staff to precede you. So just thank you so much for your good service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just say, great athletes make great leaders too, so, and you never stop. I don't know about this, Greg. What's happened in your department? But anyway, I guess got to say I've got to know Steve and a lot of his team members, and tremendous group of people who've done some great work, and just quality, humble people just doing what they do because they have a passion for what they do. And you took over. I was here when you took over and just moved the whole department up, and some of the people that you work with I've heard who just love you, and not because you're just nice and easy, because you're just a great leader. And I just commend you for what you're doing in this county and what you have done, and the staff that you have here that care so much about you. And I just wish you all the best. Enjoy writing and doing and playing and whatever else you're going to be doing. So thank you very much, Steve.
Supervisor Long.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you very much for the warm welcome. I've only been here shortly, but your office and yourself to educate me about the process, and I'm very honored to be working with your staff and with you this whole time. So congratulations on your retirement. Hopefully, or as many of we've seen in the county, you won't be retired for very long. I'm sure you'll find something you'll want to be working on quickly. But thank you very much for all that you've done.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Steve?
Well, thank you, excuse me, thank you very much. The kind words mean a lot, but I kind of accept it on behalf of the office. One last plug, you've got a real resource of great employees who believe in what they're doing in our office. The more you use it, the better returns you'll get. I think our office is phenomenal. People who really care about what they do. And I just feel really lucky and fortunate that I got this job. This was the only job I ever wanted as an adult. I wanted to be a public defender since college. I went to law school to become a public defender, and I did it. And, in the beginning, when I was actually doing cases, it was kind of about storytelling, and when you're trying to convince people, symmetry is always important. You start to have a theme, you end with a theme, and the symmetry today is very interesting. 32 years ago today, my father passed away. I'd been a public defender for like 10 weeks. I was up in Tulare trying to figure out how to practice law and do my thing. And I just find it so fascinating that 32 years to the day my father passed, I'm standing here getting honored. A lot of the kind words, I appreciate all the kind words, but the reality is the public defender's office is not about individuals. It's about teams. It's about people who see problems in our society and figure out that a way to help solve those problems is by striving that everyone, even the people that are looked at in not positive ways, are treated fairly and treated the same. And in the justice arena, it's incredibly important. I've been thinking about my career and some of the things. I'm flashing on this guy I represented years ago who he was from the Philippines, and in the Philippines, I guess they call attorneys. They always call me Attorney Lipson, like you call a doctor, like, hey, Dr. Smith. So he'd say Attorney Lipson. I'd go visit him in the jail, and he was charged with a very serious crime. And after I'd see him in the jail, every time I'd see him as we were parting, he would say to me, Attorney Lipson, my life is in your hands. And I'd always say, no, please don't say that. That's more pressure than I want. But that's the reality. That's what we do, and I know that's the dramatic part of it. But we do that, and in his case, I guess one of the reasons why I'm telling the story, he was acquitted. About a week later, my wife and I are on the pier walking, and this guy comes running up to me because he was a fisherman, big hug, and just said, "You saved my life." He's out wandering and doing his job. So I would just like to say thank you very much. This is a great county to work in. I feel very fortunate that I picked a profession that suits me perfectly, that this is what I've always wanted to do, and you gave me the opportunity to do it. I'd once again like to say thank you on behalf of the office for how you treat our office. I realize that in the jungle of criminal justice partners, there's always fights for funds, and it's difficult to make sure that everyone gets the appropriate amount, and you've always been very fair. You made a comment that our justice partners, I've always found that the best way to deal with people is just to be straightforward. If you're honest, it works a lot better, and this is a nice collaborative place to work. So it's been a long run. 32 and a half years is more than enough. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Hey, Steve. Come back.
So if the board and Mr. Powers would do Mr. Lipson the honor of coming down for a picture for him.
Photo ops.
And to the other people that are waiting, Santa Clara and the seniors, we're about 5-10 minutes. So please wait. We have a whole team here from Santa Clara, so in about 5-10 minutes.
Congratulations.
Happy for you. Enjoy.
Thank you, Steve. We have a couple of items. We have an individual that apparently I missed, but I'm going to give him a couple of minutes before we continue. This is some public comments not on the agenda. Joshua Fair from Newbury Park. You got a couple of minutes?
Did you make it 5?
Well, we're really beyond that already.
Happy Father's Day, everybody. In the light of Father's Day, the good book, the Bible says, honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded. Elder abuse victim Norma Frank, age 90, a natural living U.S. American citizen with a disability, has been systematically and continuously abused and dishonored by the court of Ventura County. She's been a resident for almost 50 years. She has done no wrong to any one of us and has been a teacher and has given our community a great deal of growth and nurturing our students for the past 50 years that she was a teacher. And now she comes to become disabled mentally by dementia, and the County of Ventura has wrongly appointed a private fiduciary, which is against my mother's trust. She has a trust, it's bona fide, it's legal, and it specifically says power of attorney for health care, designation for health care. I do hereby designate and appoint my son, Dwayne Ferrant. And I hereby grant my agent full power and authority to make health care decisions for me. He knows her. He's been her caregiver for 8 years, and her conservator for 15 years. And there's no reason on God's green earth that the judge whose flimsy, weak, unacceptable excuse for saying there's family conflict, which is just completely unacceptable, to abuse my mother and put her into a home where it's her greatest fear to be in a convalescent hospital. She had a very bad experience with our grandfather, whose leg was cut off because of neglect and abuse, and she saw his leg being cut off. She fears convalescent hospitals. She has a home she can stay in, and she must stay in. We've been waiting for her to return home. There's family there and helpers waiting to help her to return home. But next week, on Tuesday, the court illegally, by breaking her constitutional rights, her human rights, her civil rights, and more importantly, her federal rights, have not allowed her to access the courts, which is a violation of rights.
Thank you for sharing, and I'm sure the staff...
The case is coming up on the 20th, next Tuesday, and it's illegal and criminal.
Thank you for sharing. I'm sure the staff is listening to your comments. Thank you so much for sharing.
And thank you for this distinguished John Zaragoza. Happy Father's Day. Linda Parks, Steve Bennett, thank you. Kelly Long, thank you. Peter Boyd, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, John, real quick.
Yes, sir.
I think our auditor controller has an announcement. You got something to talk about?
Jeff.
Hang on.
One other comment. We are in the early stages of a lawsuit against the county. It's already in hundreds of thousands. We'll be seeking millions. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go for it. What do you got?
This is, okay, off the cuff. About 4 hours ago, I had my second grandson was born. Shepherd Scott Bird, 6 pounds, 15 ounces. Los Angeles Hospital.
Congratulations.
Happy Father's Day and Grandfather's Day.
Thank you.
That's right.
Good. Okay, our next item is a really important item too, the Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And I'm going to call Marcy Snyder up to the podium. And I'm going to read... Marcy, I'm going to read a little, we have a resolution proclaiming June 2017 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month, and I'll share a couple of words and I'll go down to see. For seniors and dependent adults are valued members of the society, and it's our collective responsibility to ensure that they live safely and with dignity. And whereas every year more than 5 million disabled elderly citizens in the United States may be victims of physical, emotional abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation. And whereas last year, Ventura County Adult Protective Services received over 4,100 reports of abuse to elders and dependent adults, most of these crimes were committed by close relatives and family members. This is hard to believe, and friends or guardians. Whereas the personal losses associated with the abuse can be devastating and include the loss of independence, the loss of their homes, life savings, health and dignity and security of those elders. Whereas on June 15 is recognized internationally as Elder Abuse Awareness Day, established in 2006 to raise awareness of the elder-dependent adult abuse, to promote better understanding of the cultural, social, and economic demographic issues behind the growing evidence of elder and dependent adult abuse around the globe. And now, therefore, be resolved, the Ventura County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim the month of June 2017 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And I'll go down to, and I see you have a lot of support behind you here.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Powers and members of the board. Just would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your support of the Adult Protective Services Program and for all our seniors and dependent adults in the community. really need your support, and we appreciate it, the ongoing support. I'd like to acknowledge our partnership with the Area Agency on Aging, Victoria Jump and Monique, if you'd like to come down, Monique Nolan. Also, we have with us today the Long-Term Care Ombudsman. We have Sylvia Taylor-Stein and Kathy Terry with us today. We all work in partnership to fight the elder and dependent adult abuse, and the AAA actually helped us put together a 90-second video that they're supposed to be able to air for you this morning. I'm not sure if they're ready. Perfect.
A neighbor.
Un amigo.
A stranger.
These are some of the faces of elder abuse.
And every case is different.
It's up to all of us to report it.
And it's easy to do.
Every year, an estimated 5 million or 1 in 10 older Americans are victims of elder abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Experts believe that for every reported case of elder abuse or neglect, as many as 23 cases go unreported. Last year in Ventura County, Adult Protective Services responded to more than 4,000 reports of elder abuse or neglect. Whether the abuse is financial, physical, emotional, or basic neglect, our senior citizens and adults with disabilities have the right to protection under the law, even from members of their own family.
So join me.
Join me.
Join me.
Acompáñenme.
As we stop elder abuse today. APS, you want to come down and do transportation?
Okay, we got Jesse here. This is yours.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, hold on, one more here.
Way over there.
And thank you. I just want to share, when I get to that age, I want you to take care of me. Thank you.
What we see here is just some tremendous champions for our senior citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's up to you guys now.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next item, I'd like to call Coach Stephen Rom to the Coach. It's been a great year for high school sports in Ventura County, and I'd like to take this time to focus on the soccer team from Santa Clara High School. They had an amazing year this year. Put your hands together for them. Coach, and I'll share a couple of words, Coach, and let you say a couple of words too. I understand that you also had the assistance of Jonathan Hendrickson. Is he here, Jonathan?
He is not here today.
Couldn't make it today. And also Jose Pena.
He is here.
Is he? Okay. And also, of course, he guided, the CIF team and you to the regional finals, which is a tremendous accomplishment for Santa Clara High School. And my understanding is the team was really successful and gave 100% really dedication and playing for the team and also for the whole city. And I understand that they're very, very happy also to do this for their families and for Santa Clara High School. I just want to share with you personally that all my children went to Santa Clara High School from the elementary all the way up to high school and on to, some went to Bonaventure and other ones to the different universities. So I think that Santa Clara does a really, really good job in educating our children. So I'd like to read just a little bit, Coach, and then I'll let you share. This is, whereas the Santa Clara High School team of 2016-17 boys varsity soccer team had an amazing season due to the hard work and dedication of you, Coach, and also the assistant coach, Jonathan, and also Jose. The players, and I'll name the players, number 5 was Anthony Abarca. Is Anthony here? No? Okay, well, we'll see. And also number 3 was Andres Ayala is here. Thank you. Good. And also number 14, Isaac Carvajal. Is Isaac here? Raise your hand, Isaac, if you're here. Okay, and how about Jose Carvajal? Well, good man. And then we also had Juan Cortez. Good man. And Borrello de Anda. Okay. And Jacob Gamba. No, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, good, he's not here. Christian Garcia. Good man. Angel Geronimo. Right here. And Lucas, you're going to have to pronounce your last name.
Nervicious, he's not here.
He's not here? No. Salvador Lopez. Okay. AJ Martinez. Ivan Escorcia. Good man. And Antonio Patino. Good man. And Juan Pedro. Good man. And Marcus Peralta. Not here either. Trevor
Pereira.
Oh, sorry. And Onofo Polito. And Christian Razzo. Okay. Frank Cedeno. And Gabriel Virgin. Whereas the soccer team in Santa Clara history, with the soccer team in Santa Clara's history to win the first CIF Southern California Section D7 championship, is the first team to reach the California Regional State Finals, and the first team to become California State Regional runner-ups. Whereas the Frontier League co-champions with a 10-1-1 league record and an 18-6-2 overall record. Co-champion Gabriel Virgin was named Frontier League Goalkeeper of the Year. Where is he? Good. Thank you. In the first team of all Ventura County CIF Southern Section D7 Player of the Year was Jose Carvajal. He was named first team player, and then all league and first team of Ventura County. Isaac Carvajal was named the Frontier League first team all league and second team from all Ventura County. And also, Deanda was named the first Frontier League first team all-league player. And then Polito was named the Frontier League first team all-league player. And Garcia was also named the second team all-league player. And AJ Martinez, second Frontier League second team all-league player. And Andy Ayala was named the Frontier second team all-league player also. And for his coach, Stefan was named the Frontier League Coach of the Year and CIF Southern Champion Section D7 Coach of the Year. Phew. Thank you. Therefore, this team of this coaches rallied the school, Santa Clara, the city of Oxnard, Ventura County. The dedication of the team committed by the coaches and support of the community made this a tremendous and legendary season for the school. Now, therefore, be resolved that Ventura County Board of Supervisors takes great pleasure in honoring the Santa Clara High School team 2016-17 boys varsity soccer team for their excellent work. And thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. Great team for Oxnard and Ventura County. Coach.
Thank you. This is a huge honor for myself, team, and for the school. I've been telling them for this whole season that as we play, we don't play for ourselves. We don't play for our individuals. We play for our team, we play for our school, and we play for our community. And it's really evident now here with you guys today. And it's a huge honor for us. You know, these boys have been through a lot over the last few years to come together, and I have continuously strived to get them to understand how important it is to come together. And this is the year where they actually decided to do it. And this is the year that they took ownership of this team. And they recognize the importance of that, because I've always told them, it doesn't matter, I can bring the best coaches in, the best drills, I can do everything I can to make you guys successful. If you guys don't want to make it happen, it's not going to happen. So this year, it's a huge testament to these boys for their ability to come together as a team, take leadership, and put the hard work in to make this season successful. So actually, I want to bring the entire team up and have you guys come up here. Come on up. Because these are the true heroes, the true champions.
Coach, thank you for me. We have a resolution for you. And believe it or not, guys, there's a saint here. This is for the entire team. And let's stand right behind me so we can, both sides.
Both sides.
So we can take some photos. Do we have parents here? And I understand we also have some of the parents here today, if the parents want to come over. Hold on, this is yours.
Circle.
Lourdes, is that good?
I can't see, there are more guys in the back.
Oh, yeah, there. Andy. Vente para acá, Andy.
It's just like the team pictures.
Over here, let's look at Lourdes.
One, two, three, smile. One more. One, two, three, smile. Beautiful. Thank you.
And do we have the parents here? Do the parents want to come with us? Come on, come. Go. No? You're the leaders. No? With Coach?
Thank you.
Thank you tremendously. And again,
Yes.
you want to say anything?
No, we have our team captain's going to say something.
Team
Gabriel?
captain wants to say something?
Our team captain and CIF Player of the Year, Gable Virgin, has a few words to say.
Thank you. Good. We'll stand here with him.
Good morning to the board. It's a huge honor for you guys to have us here. You know, we've come a long way from where we started, so being in front of you guys, being recognized by the city, it's really a great honor. By the county, yeah, sorry.
I wasn't with the city, but
same thing. It's okay. Okay, so yeah, I'd like to thank our coach, the administration. I'd like to thank you guys for having us today. You know, my teammates and I, we've put in a lot of hard work the past 4 years. I'm extremely proud of what we've achieved, and, you know, we've been through a lot of ups and downs, and we were able to overcome it. Like Coach said, we came together many times. We broke apart many times, and then we decided to stick together this year, and we finally did what we needed to do. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for having us today, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Thank you. And Santa Cruz always had good teams, you know, even soccer and football and so forth. And I want to thank you again, team, for being here today. You make us proud. Thank you so much. So our next item is the presentation resolution honoring the Oak Park CERT 20th anniversary.
Thank you, and I know we have Di Starzak here in the audience, and I think I'll come on down to the podium and present this. This is in honor of the Oak Park Community Emergency Response Team going 20 years. I think probably one of the first that we've had in the county. And I think a lot of that is because of this young lady here, Diane Starzak, who also does a fabulous barbecue. I was invited over this weekend, and we had the CERT team there, as well as some of the firefighters out in Oak Park that came. And they have done something really spectacular in Oak Park in incorporating the high school, too, and getting the teens in the high school trained. And what a fabulous idea, so that they are available in case of emergencies and they know what to do. And that's a lifelong skill that they will have as a result of that. And I know Simi Valley has also got another high school out there in the county that has done this. I think they should do that at all the schools, right? But let me go ahead and read the resolution. It says, whereas the Oak Park Community Emergency Response Team, known as CERT, this month celebrates 2 decades of service to the unincorporated area of Oak Park. And whereas the CERT program was developed nationally by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and modeled after an original 1985 program used by the City of Los Angeles Fire Department in order to create a well-trained citizen emergency volunteer force capable of vital assistance to people during disasters. And I know they do a lot of training, and they just had a training last week, too. Whereas under the expert, compassionate leadership of Coordinator Diane Starzak, Oak Park CERT has collaborated with the Ventura County Fire Department to train hundreds of community members in a broad range of basic disaster response skills, empowering them to render critical life-saving support to their families, neighbors, and community at large in the hours and days immediately following a disaster when conventional emergency services may not be available. Whereas Diane Starzak has been responsible for organizing Oak Park CERT trainees into a prepared, self-activated team of volunteers who stand ready to deliver vital support to their community under extreme conditions when normal activities are disrupted. And I think not only in emergencies, but because you have this skill, I mean, in terms of disasters, one of the CERT volunteers that I talked to last weekend said he and his wife were walking down the Champs-Élysées and someone was having a stroke, and he knew what to do, and being able to be there for that person. That this is primarily designed for when there are emergencies in our community and our police, fire, and ambulances are overwhelmed. And whereas the Oak Park's more than 14,000 residents, public safety is paramount, and so it is especially appreciated that Diane Starzak has had the foresight to work with the counties to meticulously acquire and store a broad range of emergency supplies in Oak Park for use and distribution by the CERT team to save lives. And whereas a special point of pride in the history of Oak Park CERT is its pioneering development together with the Ventura County Fire Department of the Oak Park High School Teen CERT curriculum, which since 2011 has trained hundreds of students in emergency and leadership skills, while also establishing emergency response assets for the school and enhancing a culture of preparedness in the community leaders of tomorrow. And whereas volunteer civic organizations have thrived in Oak Park since the earliest days, and the Oak Park CERT, led by Diane Starzak, exemplifies the generous spirit of citizen engagement shaping the distinct community identity of Oak Park. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ventura County Board of Supervisors takes great pleasure in commending Oak Park CERT on the occasion and celebration of its 20th anniversary, and thanking CERT coordinator Diane Starzak. So I just really appreciate what you've done. We have CERT training that's occurred in many of the Maximi District and the Santa Rosa Valley and Casa Caneo, obviously in Oak Park. But to keep them together, I think that is something that is unique because oftentimes once you get the training, you don't keep that team going. And so that it just makes it so much more effective and special. So thank you so much for what you've done. I know your heart's really into this. You also serve on our county board that helps with determining ambulance contracts, for example. So this is part of your heart in this, and just appreciate the work you've done. I don't know if you'd like to make some comments. You've come all the way down.
Certainly can, very quickly. Thank you very much, though. Thank
you.
I think I accept this, of course, on behalf of our team. And I have to say that we have received such incredible support from our Board of Supervisors, from Linda Parks, from our fire department, from our Sheriff's Department, from the Red Cross. We have a wonderful relationship with our Station 36 in Oak Park, and we are all integrated very much so with our school district and our community. And, you know, no one sails this boat by themselves. So I'm just very grateful for the kind of collaborative work that we do. And we are especially proud of our high school program, because these kids now have more skills in their pocket to go off to work, to school, to college. And we've had 2 of our high school CERT graduates receive the Life-Saving Award from the fire department for their actions that they took in an emergency in the last couple of years. So we're incredibly proud of that. And so thank you.
Diane and Supervisor Parks, I just want to share too that when I was with the Oxnard City Council, I participated a lot with the Oxnard CERT program, and I have in the audience we have Rod Thorpe, who's currently helping me out temporarily until Bill Gallagher gets here. He was a fire marshal for Oxnard and had the CERT program there too that was very, very successful. And Bill Gallagher, one of my chief of staff that's off temporarily, was also the fire marshal and also was really instrumental in putting the CERT program. Because in Oxnard we have 48 neighborhoods, and we were, you know, really one of the main effects that we had or training was in case of an earthquake, in case of what happens with a major disaster. But I want to thank you again, Diane, for your good work. The CERT program's an excellent program, and thank you, Supervisor Parks, for it.
Just, you know, since we're here, people out there in the audience and the public can know that they can get trained in emergency response. It's a free training that the fire department does.
That's
I think it's
right.
over 7 evenings and over several months, and you can become a representative of CERT and
That's
help
right.
your community in emergencies.
Very important for the
So if you
community.
take- maybe, can you come this way? We'll get the board in the background. And Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so much.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is a public hearing, and this is regarding adoption of the resolution of application requesting that proceedings be taken by the Ventura County LAFCO Commission to activate a current latent powers of county service areas number 4 in Oak Park to provide volunteer policing VIP services. And who is?
This is I.
Supervisor, okay.
This is a request that we can proceed with the bureaucracy, essentially, of being able to get volunteers in policing in the Oak Park area. And actually, the city of Thousand Oaks has been providing volunteers in policing for many years, and it has been a very successful program. It allows actually to free up time of our sworn deputies so that they can work on more pressing issues, and the volunteers in policing can do things, for example, of doing vacation house checks and just being a presence that helps people to maybe drive a little bit more safely near the schools, for example. And they have been a great resource out in the community. And the city of Thousand Oaks, back in 2005, had agreed to expand their program into the Oak Park area, but it did stall, and new management came along, and it's got life again. So this is a request that we send over to LAFCO so that they can approve the ability of extending the volunteer and policing service into the community. Right now it's considered a latent power, and this would be an activated power if LAFCO approves that. It requires a hearing, I know, to do that, and so we had to notice it, and so I imagine we've opened the public hearing.
We opened the public hearing. I don't have any speakers on this item. Any board members have any concerns, questions?
No, but I'm consistently amazed how long things take to have a public hearing here and then a public hearing in LAFCO, and then, it just, whatever we can do to speed this up, that'd be great.
So I'm closing the public hearing, and so we need a motion.
I'll go ahead and move that we send this over to LAFCO for their approval.
Okay, we've got a first and a second. Please vote. Okay.
And this would also be funded by the community service agency
District.
that we have out there, community service area, excuse me.
And thank you. So that's approved. And by the way, Oak Park's, your MAG people and people are very, very, I appreciate what they do for you. They're very
and
civic-minded.
It is essentially the size of the city of Fillmore. So you realize, it's a tight community that works to assist itself, and it's been very successful with the coordination and collaboration with its agencies that serve it.
Okay, thank you. Now we have a time certain. Item 39 is to receive and file report on the transit services provided in the unincorporated areas through Transportation Development Act funding. Dave?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Zaragoza Supervisors, Mr. Powers, for the record, I'm David Fleisch with the Public Works Agency Transportation Department. I have a PowerPoint. I hope there we go. Today I'm going to provide you a brief presentation on the transit services that are provided in the unincorporated county. These services are funded through Transportation Development Act funds that we are allocated directly from VCTC to the Gold Coast Transit District, and then as a operator, for us, we request our funds through them. So we annually file that claim. You have a copy of the claim as an attachment. Those funds are solely used for transit purposes. What we fund are the county portions of various services throughout the county, the one exception of a standalone service that we have that is only for an unincorporated county is the Canaan Shuttle. There are 3 service areas that we have, the Gold Coast Transit District, the Heritage Valley, and the East County Transit Alliance, and I will talk about each one of those briefly. In addition to that, there is a countywide intercity service provided through the VCTC Intercity Service. Oh, there we go. It's
There you
working.
go. You got it.
It just had to wake up. So before I start into the specifics of each of the areas, I wanted to take a moment to talk about some trends that we're seeing in transit. There's a couple of them locally, but there's one that we're seeing nationally as well as locally, and that is what you see on these 2 charts here, and that's that fixed route ridership. So bus ridership is going down, and you see kind of a spike there. There is some thought that this is somewhat connected to gas prices, but it's about a year behind the gas price changes, so it's hard to know that that's a fact. It's not huge numbers, as you see there in the operators within the Ventura County here, a loss of about 200,000 riders roughly in a 1-year period. That's a concern. It's not something that we've seen any specific reason why, but that is a trend that we're watching. In addition to that, there are 2 countywide trends that we're seeing. One of those is an increase in the ADA senior dial-a-ride ridership, and we think that is for a lot of different reasons. There's an increase in dialysis, there's more nutrition programs that are being provided for seniors, and we're all getting older. And so I think that the combination of all of those, we're seeing an increase in those. And then finally, and I'm going to talk to this in several of the specific services, we're seeing some challenges in meeting the fare box recovery ratios across many of the services, and there's a couple of reasons for that. And a couple of years ago, as your board is aware, there were several legislative things enacted that affect Ventura County, SB 716 and 203, which addressed how we use TDA in the county. Also, the Senate bill that established the Gold Coast Transit District. In addition, last year, the Commission approved policy to to make more consistent how TDA is applied across the different services. And with that, there's been some adjustments. So in most of the services, we're seeing challenges with meeting the fare box recovery, not only the services that we're in, but Camarillo and Simi Valley are as well. Now, they're meeting theirs in different ways about how they handle their money, but they are struggling with the fare boxes as
Supervisor
well.
Parks.
Yes, thank you. Looking at those 2 charts, nationally, It looks like 100,000 people. Is that what it is, that you've had a drop, or it went from 10,675,000 to 10,700,000, and then 10,700,000 down to 10 million.
Correct.
So we're only talking about 100, 200,000 nationally, but when you look at just VCTC, we're talking about 100,000
Very
right
significant
here.
number, yes,
So I don't know if that national ridership one is so statistical because it's a smaller number, but,
Well,
you
and
know.
they understand there's 3 more zeros added to that.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's truncated, so that's not 10 million, that's
Oh,
10
okay.
million riders, so.
So it is, it's because, I had heard it said that one of the reasons why we're seeing a drop in transit ridership in California is because of people who are undocumented being able to get driver's license, that they're not taking buses and that they're driving more. But this is going across the country then, is that right?
Yes.
That's right.
So it's a trend that across the transit business we're watching, and I don't have a lot of detail on
Yes.
the why. There's a lot of speculation, but it's something that we'll continue to watch.
But you're overall just looking at the lower price of gas, or as probably an
That's
indicator.
one of the indicators. There's things like Uber and Lyft that didn't exist a few years ago that people are using
Which
as
I would
well.
say makes it a lot easier for somebody to get to right where they want for a few bucks, yeah,
Right.
a lot
So
easier.
I think there's more choices is probably the best way to look at that, whether they drive themselves, whether there's other service available outside of public
And
transit.
the Uber has a lot to do with that, too, you know.
I would guess so, yes.
Because we discussed that in Gold Coast Transit also in our
It
board.
could make it obsolete, transit-type systems obsolete in the future.
That is possible.
With that question, then, do we have the right to our own, what goes on in the unincorporated areas, design our own?
I'm
Or
sorry,
do we
sir?
have the right to design our own, that we don't have to stay with some of these other big transits and look at, like Linda's saying, things become obsolete, we slowly shift,
We certainly can. I mean, we're part of the Heritage Valley. We're a fairly small part of that. We're part of Gold Coast. Again, we're a fairly small part of the whole service that Gold Coast provides. The only place where we have standalone service is the Canaan Shuttle. We could look at some alternative service providers for us as we move down.
Well, I guess just not as much providers, but just trying to get the max, like the Canyon Shuttle, that's busy all the time. It's a shuttle, it's not really a bus route, it's a little bit different than a typical. But I guess it's for us to think about, if we're going to spend this money, we want to spend the most effective way instead of having a bunch of empty buses because we want to do routes, kind of a thing.
But Dave, also as we've heard in the Gold Coast Transit Board, that the fares are very inexpensive, very affordable for the community. They can't even afford a Uber. Yeah, I understand, but we do have.
Is Gold Coast also seeing a decline in ridership?
Yes, they are.
Yes,
They
we
are too?
have. Yes, we
So I
have.
know
It's nationwide.
Yeah, they're still above where they were 4 years ago, but they've seen a decline this year in fixed route, not in in fact, that's a nice segue to talking about Gold Coast. They are the largest provider in the county. Again, it's Oxnard, Ventura, Port Hueneme, Ojai, and the unincorporated portions of the county, Western County. They're about 4 million trips a year.
That's right.
About 90,000, so roughly a quarter of that. In addition to that, roughly a quarter more that are in the access, which is
That's been going up.
and that's gone up significantly. Year over year, the last 2 years, they've had a 10% increase year over year in their senior ADA service.
And I know the dial ride are the most expensive form of transportation out there. It's basically a taxi type thing. But one other thing that I've heard that municipalities are doing are partnering with Lyft and Uber and helping to subsidize some of those fares to get more people out, and it ends up being less costly than buses, for example.
Well, I would agree on that as well, because what we've heard from many of our different meetings is the fact that it takes so long to get from point A to point B, and that there's hard problems with connections and so forth, and times and safety when they're traveling and so forth, that the dial rides and the different programs are actually more economic. But I know you need to finish your presentation.
Real quick, let me share some. Route 20 that we put together at Gold Coast, we have a bus that runs all the way from Hueneme all the way to Ojai without having to transfer, which I think is really significant, and as you were sharing before too. But I think those are the kind of things, the connectivity I think is extremely important that we look at.
As you're aware from sitting on the commission, there's a constant look at how to be better regionally at connectivity. Those are things that we'll continue to look at. We're quite a bit further toward that than we were 6 or 7 years ago, but we still have a very long way to go. One of the challenges that we have for Gold Coast, in addition, they're right at their 20% fare box. They have a little bit more flexibility. They have advertising revenue. They have some alternative fuel revenues and some other things that they can use as offsets that the smaller operators like us, for example, who contract for a service, don't have the ability to do. One of the other issues that we have that we're looking at with them is the connectivity from the Gold Coast area for the ADA senior service. How does that connect into Camarillo? Right now, they stop on Central Avenue near the Harley dealer, essentially, that's there. And we're trying to look at an alternative way for that meets both the needs of Camarillo and the needs of the Gold Coast passengers. And so we're looking for some demonstration funding to try to make that connectivity a little simpler. Within the Gold Coast area, but operated separately by the city of Ojai, is the Ojai Trolley. It serves, again, the city of Ojai and Miramonte and Miners Oaks, the unincorporated areas. As you can see, it's considerably smaller than, it's a relatively small service, about 100,000 trips a year. About half of that is in the county unincorporated area. One of the challenges is the Ojai area by the state is designated as an urban area. And you may think that that's sort of odd, and it is, but that's the way they're designated. And so because it's designated as an urban area, they're required to meet a 20% fare box ratio, which for rural type areas, which is what they really are, is fairly difficult to do. So we've been working with the Ojai staff to try to come up with ways, because they're currently at about 11% fare box ratio and to need to get to 20. So there are several things that they're doing coming up this fall. They're going to increase their fares to be a little bit more in line with the Gold Coast fares. They're a bit lower now. They're reducing some services that they have that are not well-used services. There's still going to be a struggle with that to get to, they may be able to get to 13-14%, but to get to 20 is a challenge. We're continuing to work that with them and explore alternatives. We'll be back to you with that, but there's a possibility that if we can't get to that 20, that there'll be some necessity for other funding to be provided in order to continue that service. And basically, the way the process works, if they have to make 20 and they make 15, the 5% times the operating cost has to be paid out of something other than TDA money.
Supervisor Foy.
We talk about this in all these different providers. If you were to look at this around the state, around the country, is this always an issue, this 20% deal, or what?
Well, the fare box varies urban versus rural, but in larger areas, much more urban, like Los Angeles, the metro, I doubt very seriously they have any trouble meeting their fare box, because they have a much higher volume. Even if they use a smaller percentage of people, same percentage of people, much larger volume of population, they're able to keep their buses fuller. Our challenge is it's hard to get from here to there. The places that need the service are typically smaller rural areas.
Yeah, I guess in asking that question was to understand that, but also this goes to back, the old problem we've had is one model fits everybody, and we've tried to place that in an area that we're a pretty rural county, so it doesn't always work. So, okay.
I mean, there is some I'm sorry.
Supervisor Bennett? Yeah.
I'll make my comments after we do all
Okay.
The next service that we're a part of is the Valley Express, which was begun in March of 2015, so it's been operating a little bit more than 2 years out in the Heritage Valley. Prior to that, for 3 decades, we had essentially a general public dial-a-ride service out there. This is provided through a memorandum of understanding between the cities of Fillmore and Santa Paula and the county. VCTC manages the service administratively. It's been running, again, it's about the same size as the Ojai trolley service, about 100,000 trips a year on the fixed route, and there's an additional about 30,000 trips. We're struggling to meet the fare box here. We're at about 7%. There's been a lot of outreach done, but we think that one of the challenges in meeting the fare box is for 3 decades of having one service, we've changed to a new service. There's still some hesitancy in understanding the service that's new and out there. Through the Heritage Valley Technical Committee and Policy Committee, we're looking at some adjustments to that service, some lower performing areas, removing that. We initially had a dial-a-ride limitation. If you were within a half a mile of the fixed route, you couldn't ride. We've taken that away, or that will be coming away in the fall. And then looking at a fare increase also. So we're hopeful that that will bring that fare box up to the 10% requirement in that area.
So I just want to point out that in so many ways, the Ojai Valley is very similar to Santa Clara Valley, Santa Paula and Fillmore, Piru area, and to have one of them labeled by the federal government as urban and the other one as rural, so it changes the fare box recovery thing. But certainly, for practical purposes, they have similar populations, similar distances there, similar. There are a lot of similarities, and they ought to both have the same fare box recovery ratio. It's not anything we control, but it's something that we should just keep in mind.
The Valley Express serving Santa Paula, Fillmore, and Piru. You were saying previously we had that service for many years, and you switched to this bus system. Correct. And the question is, when we had it for a couple of decades, were we meeting the fare box revenue?
The way they were calculating it then, yes. One of the challenges up until last year, when the commission put forth a consistent policy toward how TDA was handled, there were various ways the cities were doing that, and so it was really awkward the way it was being done. Now we're actually doing it the way we should be.
So my question is based on the foundation of, is there more people riding it, then, or is it we're calculating it differently, or have we actually seen a drop and that's why we're not able to make it?
I don't know that prior to this service starting, we paid much attention to the fare box ratios, quite frankly.
Okay.
So I don't mean to not answer the question, but I'm not sure that I can.
I understand it. The bottom line is we're not meeting it. I was just wondering if we're not doing the service the same, and that's why we're not meeting it, or maybe we just didn't meet it before either under this calculation.
If I can make a comment on that, I sit on the board for the Transportation Bureau, and one thing that we are looking at is we have been surveying our customers. There was a change in service request from City Council as to how they felt they needed to serve their community. And so now there's a reduction in the bus fare and more in the dial ride. And we're looking at different ways of reducing some, adding others in the dial ride. That's within our budget. We're also looking at, there's the fare box system being put in, and how we do this recovery ratio, how are the fees, is it a change of a monthly or a card, different ways in which we can make this a more successful program versus one that we have to continue to put money into.
Dave, I know we've discussed that and people voted, but I think, and I know it's probably Santa Paula, the Santa Clara Valley wouldn't probably agree to that, but we could eliminate all this by joining Gold Coast Transit, right? And
Gold Coast still has a fare box requirement, but it would absorb them into it.
And it'd be a much higher, something that potentially.
I think that's something that the board would have to look at.
I'm
I couldn't just assume that we would have no problem with cost if that was the case.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that, because we discussed that in the past, so.
What I did not put up here for this is the county's portion of the service is fairly small. The majority of it is the two cities. And our ridership on the Piru connector between Fillmore and Piru is really making a lot of the fare box here. So our portion of it, although we're part of the whole system, the service needs of the county, unincorporated area is being met very well.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we're also a part of the East County Transit Alliance. It's a relatively loose group of the four cities of Camarillo, Moore Park, Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, and the unincorporated county. Again, out of the regionalization that happened with those legislative actions a couple of years ago, we came together to try to be more regional and supportive of each other in the services in the East County. We have one service that we have that's coordinated across 4 of the 5 cities in the county, and that's the Connect service you see up here, and that's a intercity senior ADA dial-a-ride. And so you can go from any one of the cities or the unincorporated county on that service without having to make a connection or a change. Right now, the exception to that is Camarillo doesn't participate in that service. They run their own. So that's a challenge for them, although we do bring people to them and they drop people off. There is a connection there that needs to be done. And so the largest user in this service, almost 50%, about 45% of the service is in Simi Valley, and that was much larger than they expected. And our portion for the unincorporated area is relatively small. The challenges that we have, you have the implementation plan that you can see that was an attachment, and those are the goals and specific actions that we're trying to meet. The challenges that we're seeing is because we still have Camarillo and Simi operating their own service, we've got multiple operators in the same area, and you've got the challenges that Camarillo has with the different age because of some things that are by policy for them. So we're continuing to move forward, but not as fast as we'd like.
On that last one, you had a map and it had a transfer point, and the transfer point was in Chatsworth. It doesn't go to Chatsworth, does it?
That's, I don't know the answer to that
Let's see a T
question.
there.
I think that's to Metrolink, but I'll get back to you with an
Probably
answer.
LA.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that we do take folks into LA as a transfer for medical appointments, if I recall, but I'll get back to you with an answer. Finally, the Canaan Shuttle in Oak Park has been serving that area since 2013. We moved away from the dial-a-ride service. Currently, it's a fare-free ride, and that 20%, that fare box is being made through contributions from the CSA and the Oak Park School District. And we understand that there might be some problem with the school district, and it's the thing we were just made aware of. So that's something that we'll have to look at going forward.
I know that there's a tremendous support out there for this, and that there will be other funds if the school district isn't able to. They recently didn't pass a continuation of their parcel tax, but I know that this is a very popular and a priority for that community.
One of the other, the things that we have going on, we get continued requests there from, we have a stop at Canaan and Thousand Oaks Boulevard, which is in Agora, and then we have quite a distance before we get in the unincorporated county. We routinely get requests to stop in Agora, but to date, the city has not desired to participate, so that makes it a little difficult for that. We also have gotten some requests recently about getting further with the bus up into the hillside areas, and so we're taking a look at all of that and seeing to what extent that's possible to do for students primarily, and the rest of the general public. The other thing that we do is we request capital money every year for bus stop improvements, about $150,000 a year out of the money we get. First, starting to try to do ADA compliance and make sure we're compliant with all those, and then systematically go through the different stops within the unincorporated county. So we've got a project that's underway and largely done now that's included additional amenities, mostly in the Gold Coast area. The first two that we did were in the Oak Park area because we had areas where we had a sign in the middle of grass and it didn't meet ADA, and so we really needed to do something with that. And then we're continuing to work through that. We also have some grant funding through Gold Coast for 3 stops on the 118 in the Saticoy area that's being funded through that grant that will be in for the stops that are there. Just to give you an idea, this is in Nyland Acres, the before and after of one of the stops that we just did. The stop picture you see on the right is what we put in is a bench and a shelter and a regular and a trash receptacle and a recycle receptacle.
And that's become a really safety factor. That's really great, with Nyland Acres.
And that's our goal with as many of these, is to identify the higher priority ones by boardings and people getting on and off, and then trying to get the amenities in it and meet everything that we can.
Mm-hmm.
So
that looks like a lot more comfortable place. I mean compare those two, and just in terms of waiting for your bus. Wow, that's huge value to that.
So, pending your questions.
Okay, any questions?
I don't have questions. I just would like to, as I point out this from a philosophical standpoint. I mean, we're a different kind of county than the other counties. We're not as dense as, Los Angeles County, et cetera, and yet we, like a number of things, we're going to find, federal and state requirements applied to us without the same density levels that are out there. But even though we are low on fare box return on some of these runs and stuff, we have a certain percentage of low-income people that this is their only means of transit. And if I'm all for if we can creatively find some other efficient way to do it, but we have a responsibility to help those people get to work and certainly to get to work, but to be able to get around this transit service. So we have to keep that in mind. And if one of the prices we pay for not having as dense of a county is that, we have to find some ways to subsidize to make that happen. Ultimately, we have that population that has to be served, and the TDA funding has to be spent, I believe for, that mass transit kind of funding, et cetera, that's out there. So I appreciate the challenges. I really appreciate, I think our staff's really worked hard, in spite of the fact that we have probably disagreement in the county as to how many, how unified we should have our transit system. Given where we are in terms of policy, our staff's really working hard to try to do that. I appreciate Supervisor Long serving on the transit board so that she knows what their challenges are there with that Santa Clara ride system, and we just have to keep chipping away at that and stuff. But we can't lose sight of the fact that there are those people that have no other way to get around except for this transit and this challenged economic environment for low-income people. Thank you.
And board members, I want to thank Dave and Trini for assisting us in VCTC and Gold Coast. They always give us the good advice and input, that we need. So I thank you, Dave and Trini and Jeff. Thank you so much for.
And I agree. It was good that there was open minds to look at putting in the Canaan shuttle because originally there was concerns it wouldn't work. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. One of the things that I've been pushing for at the Transportation Commission is working with the colleges to get free transportation for students. And that's something that, for example, I believe it's Riverside County has done that for their students. And I know that Darren Kettle has been working with the colleges to enact that. But that is also a funding source. And you find that obviously, as we have in Oak Park too, a lot of students use these. And the idea of, for example, from Cal State Channel Islands is also a really good potential if we can keep the service going there. I know there's been some questions on that. But there has also been, I believe, in the state legislature, some bills looking for doing just this thing. And I know our Transportation Commission is in support of that too. But that's a really good goal too. As we know, free works, that will get them riding.
Is that a motion? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dave. Good job. Please vote. And that is approved. Our next item, again, item 40, is a public hearing regarding adoption of resolution approving the benefit assessment program for the Watershed Protection District for the cost of flood control services. Glenn? Okay.
Good morning, Chairman Zaragoza, members of the board.
And this is a public hearing, so we can all.
CEO Powers. Mm-hmm. I'm Glenn Shepard from the Public Works Agency and Director of the Watershed Protection District. I'm joined today with our agency director, Jeff Pratt, and two experts with regard to this benefit assessment, Mr. Arnie Anselm and Ms. Karen Mendoza. I'm before you today requesting that you receive public testimony and approve the benefit assessment program for the next fiscal year. The district brings this benefit assessment program before your board annually to confirm and adopt assessments after the public hearing. If approved, the program will yield just under $12 million for the district and partnering cities to execute vital programs with respect to the district's operations and maintenance, the Flood Damage Repair Reserve, and the Ventura County-wide Stormwater Quality Management Program and National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit activities. As your board is aware, Proposition 218 restricts us from raising benefit assessment rates without a comprehensive public consultation process and a vote. Accordingly, the benefit assessment rates and calculation methodology remains the same as it has in previous years. Exhibits 1 through 3 detail the benefit assessment rates and revenue generated. I won't go into any additional detail, and subject to your questions, that concludes my...
Thank you, Glenn. This is a public hearing, and open the public hearing. I don't have any speakers at this time. Board members, and I will close the public hearing. Any questions of Glenn? If not, then we need a motion.
I'll make a motion. I thank very much for the updates and the information that I've been receiving in our office, just to give us a good understanding of what we're doing here.
Okay, we got a first and second. Please vote. One more. Has everybody voted, Brian? Okay.
Yes.
So that's approved. Okay, our next presentation. We're okay?
Mm-hmm.
Our next presentation is a recent filed presentation on the first 5 of Ventura County. And I like to call it Petra. And of course, first 5 impacts the kids for a lifetime. And First 5 Commission works with many, many partners to work with parents, to schools, governmental agencies, nonprofits, businesses, and so forth for Ventura County children. So the First 5 thus strives to strengthening our families and communities for generations to come. So you have a little budget that you want to propose to us and some comments.
Certainly, thank you.
And I said a little budget, I'm not sure what that means. Thank you.
We'll get to that in a second. Good morning, Chair of the Board, Board of Supervisors, staff, CEO Mike Powers. Thank you for having me here today. As many of you probably know, this is an annual presentation that First 5 does to the Board of Supervisors. Just a couple of words about First 5. As you know, we're the local agency established to administer Proposition 10 tobacco tax revenues. Thank you. And we are using those revenues to invest in early childhood programs in Ventura County, serving children and their families 0 to 5 years of age. The ordinance that's established First 5 requires that we present on an annual basis our budget, our operating budget, to the board for the subsequent years. And so I wanted to also take this opportunity to share with you a couple of highlights and accomplishments that we're proud to present to you that we've accomplished over the last year or so. How do we? Oh, there we go. Great, thank you. Our investments are guided by a strategic plan, and our local vision is that all children thrive in healthy and supportive environments. And we cannot do this alone. So when we're most successful is when we're building strong partnerships with school districts, public agencies, and local nonprofit agencies in the community who serve the same target population as we are. And what we do best is when we integrate those resources that we bring to the table as well as our partners so that we can create a comprehensive and coordinated service system for our young children. What guides our work? We have a set of guiding principles that First 5 Ventura County adopts and uses to guide our strategic investments. First and foremost are parents. Parents are our most important partners in everything we do, and we take great strides in engaging parents as partners, not only in the services that we provide to them, but also as decision makers in program implementation. We focus on prevention. We know that the earlier we make investments and prevent later challenges down in life, the easier it is to assure success. We leverage resources, as I already mentioned. We work very closely with partners throughout the community to make sure that our resources have the maximum impact by stretching and blending and braiding funding. We look for sustainable investments, and what that means is that we look at the existing service system and invest where there are gaps in services and help change the systems so that we have a more sustainable infrastructure for our youngest children. and we minimize administrative costs, and I'll get to that when I present to you the budget in a second. Our strategic priorities are that children are healthy. We know that if children are not healthy, they are very challenged in being ready for school, and that's our next priority. Children enter school ready to learn. But we know that at the core are the children, and we want to make sure that they're ready. But what goes around the children are the parents that support them. And so we need to make sure that parents have the resources and the knowledge that they need to be the best parents possible. And none of this can happen without the communities that wrap around the services to support the children and the families where they live, and prioritizing the children. First Five was established in 1998 through Proposition 10. Since then, we have made some significant progress, and we have some significant accomplishments that we're very proud of. At the core of our investments are our Neighborhood for Learning programs, as we also call them NFL, with the lowercase f, so we don't get in trouble with the big guys. And it's really our community-based service system that provides 11 NFL geographically defined areas in our county that very closely align with school districts so that parents know where they belong. And through those NFLs, we provide 25 family resource centers in high-need neighborhood, underserved neighborhoods. And in those family resource centers, parents can access parent education, parent and child together programs for 0 to 3-year-olds, as well as all kinds of family support services, and we're linking families to resources that they're available. On top of that NFL community-based service delivery system, we layer countywide services. Things like oral health care, preventive care are delivered in the neighborhoods where families live through those family resource centers. We're also layering on top developmental screenings through Ventura County Public Health. And we're also supporting Mixtec population in the Oxnard Plains, as you know, a very underserved, high-risk population in our county.
And Petra, you know, the program there in Island Acres, 0 to 3, is really, really very beneficial and very successful, too.
Thank you.
So you're doing a really good job there in Island Acres.
Thank you. First Five has also been a champion for preschool since our inception. We've created about 1,500 preschool spaces in partnership with agencies such as Child Development Resources and Child Development Incorporated, as well as school districts. What we're very proud of is our Community Investment Loan Fund. The loan fund, as the name implies, is a loan that provides very low-cost capital for facilities financing. And through that loan fund, we've invested about $1.2 million. We've created 318 new preschool spaces since our inception through that loan fund, and it's replenishing itself. So as those loans get repaid, we're able to invest additional loans in the community. What's really wonderful, those 318 spaces include over 100 spaces for infants and toddlers in those programs, which we know are very high need. And it created 52 new jobs that didn't exist previously. I talked a little bit about the parents at the core of everything that we do. We're supporting parents through a number of different investments. We're promoting the 5 Protective Factors framework, which looks at a strengths-based approach for working with families. And we're also providing the Triple P positive parenting programs throughout our Neighborhood for Learning programs. And we're working very hard with parents to make sure they can become the leaders and advocates for their children that we know they can be. But despite those significant accomplishments, children and families face severe challenges. Many children grow up in poverty. Countywide, we're looking at about 18% of children ages 0 to 5 in poverty. Now, that's a county average. In some parts of our county, the number is more like 33 to 35%, especially in Oxnard. Some neighborhoods see deep poverty of about 55% of young children growing up in poverty. We know that 3rd grade reading scores, which is an indicator that we look often to identify children that need intervention or to point out who is really on track in meeting academic outcomes, are stagnant. They're not improving. Why is that? We know that not even half of all children in Ventura County, 0 to 5-year-olds, are being read to every day. And just a few weeks ago, I was here to thank you for your participation in Take 5 and Read to Kids event, which is one of our key initiatives to promote early literacy, very important to First 5. Closely linked to poverty are child abuse and neglect rates. In some parts of our county, in the Oxnard Plains, in certain census tracts, about 50% of child abuse and neglect cases come from those zip codes in our county, 0 to 5-year-olds. And we know that 0 to 5 is a very critical age range, and when we think about the positive experiences that really make a difference in those early years, child abuse and neglect rate are very concerning to us. We also know that there is not the capacity needed to serve all the families in our county. Things like preschool and oral health are not available to everybody that needs it. And finally, we're facing declining revenues.
Could you go back one, please? Could you go back? I just, your report, I just want to stop and call attention to those first 4 bullet points. They should be major concerns for all of us that are in leadership positions in the county of Ventura. Poverty among children in Ventura County is growing. 3rd grade reading scores are stagnant and are far worse among low-income children. We have increasing child abuse rates in Ventura County and not enough preschool spaces. That's a really serious, those are 4 serious problems, and they're ones that I just wanted to call out in your report. Thank you for making those, and thank you for having First 5 focus on them, but we all have to pay attention, and we all have responsibility to try to do some things with that. Thank you.
And one of the things, too, I'd like to share that in Ventura County, Mike, we're also looking at the dental work, because that's really important. As you mentioned there in the last, second to last bullet point, there's too few dentists that accept the dental cal. We're working on that. It's so important for dental care for our children. It affects the entire, performance of that child. So, Supervisor Long.
Well, and also this goes along, we have statistics from the VCCA that gave us a presentation last week that hits about this as well. And I'm glad we're talking about this today.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. One of our significant challenges that we are facing as an agency are declining revenues. The good news is fewer people are smoking. The bad news is revenues go down. We have fewer resources to provide the services, especially to those greatest need. What you'll see here at the bottom of the slide is our projection. We are proposing, you'll see in the budget, actually a little bit higher than $11 million in program spending over the next 2 years. But what we do know is by 2019, we will have exhausted our sustainability fund that really allows us those kinds of spending levels. So for the next few years, we propose to maintain our current strategies, our investments in Neighborhood for Learning programs and the county-wide strategies that I've just shared with you at a very high level. We're also identifying opportunities. How do we shift some of our program expenses to other partners and other resources? Great example of that is preschool. We have partnered with school districts over the last couple of years, and we've been able to decrease our investment, First 5 investment in preschool spaces by about half. And that doesn't mean this preschool spaces went away, but it means that there's additional state dollars that we were able to bring in to pick up the cost for those services.
What is the source of those dollars, Petra?
The preschool? State preschool dollars, so that is funding through the Department of Education. And then we've also engaged in a resource development project where we've taken a very close look at all the resources in our county and are contemplating how do we bring additional resources in. We are constantly looking at grant funding, but we're also looking at fundraising opportunities. So what happens in those years 4 and 5 of our strategic plan when our revenues, our available resources will have decreased significantly? We are going to focus significantly more on capacity building and supporting the quality of the system that we're currently investing in. So what does that mean? We're really looking at how do we better advocate and building public and political will to support children and all the issues that they're facing. We are looking at how do we better work with other systems in terms of planning and governance so that we can fully leverage all the resources in our county that are available. What we do know is that despite our steep decline, we will have some resources to invest in direct services. So what we're looking at, what the Commission has identified, are those services where if First 5 funding would go away, there are no other resources to support those services. Things like our family resource centers in the Neighborhood for Learning programs, things like our parent and child together groups for parents with their young children, 0 to 3-year-olds. Which brings me to our operating budget for fiscal year 2017-18. Before I get into some of the details, I wanted to mention to you that the operating funds are very similar to last year. We've been very consistent in maintaining our investments in our programs. In terms of revenues, we are looking at an operating fund of about $13 million. That includes Prop 10 distribution from tobacco tax of about $6.6 million. We're able to bring in some additional funding from First 5 California, a little over $1 million. We've also just been awarded a federal Pay for Success feasibility pilot grant from the U.S. Department of Education at about $150,000 for 2 years each year. And then we're projecting a modest 0.75 return on our investment in interest rates. It's going up, that's good news. We're looking at about $54,000. And then at the bottom, you see the transfer from our sustainability fund of about $5.3 million. On the right-hand side, we separate out our community investment loan fund. We are projecting interest earnings from the repayment of those loans, as well as an allocation from our initial loan fund at about $280,000 combined. In terms of expenditures, you will see that the bulk of our expenditures goes to support our funded partner allocations. So those are allocations for our Neighborhood for Learning programs at $7.2 million countywide. Specialized strategies, which are those services that we're layering on top, things like oral health, parenting programs, and specialized supports for MISTEC population at $1.7. Countywide preschool at $2.2 million, and that includes some quality initiatives as well. New for fiscal year 2017-18 is a challenge grant line item. And so this is a new strategy that we've identified in our strategic plan that we're going to be launching in 17-18. And then finally, you'll see our administrative budget of just shy of a little bit over $600,000, which comes in at an admin rate for this combined budget of 4.61%, which we're very proud of. And with that, I would be happy to
Thank you,
answer
Petra.
questions.
Any questions, Petra?
I got some questions for you. I appreciate, great program. I hate it's set up on this whole tobacco tax. That's the stupidest thing we do. We want to get rid of something, we do this kind of thing. Anyway, if I understand, you're pulling a whole lot of money out of your fund balance to meet your budget. What is your current fund balance? Did I miss that?
About $20 million.
20 million, so you're taking 25% of your money out. Why would you not slowly reduce this even further, and so you can do more of these other programs longer than taking, this budget's based on almost 50% of this is based on pulling my savings out.
Yeah.
What's the real reason for that?
The commission has had many, many long conversations about this particular issue, and there's many different options. What they concluded is that there are children today that have needs, and we have the sustainability fund set up, and they were very intentional about being able to maintain the service system that we've built since 1998, recognizing that a gradual decline really dismantles the system. It's really hard to just cut 10% year after year.
Well, in 4 years, you're going to go boom, and it's going to be done.
Yes.
So there's going to be kids 4 years from now, just the same mindset. Anyway, it seems kind of weird to me that we would not do a little bit of gradual and try to stretch this on for 10 or 12 years, because I don't know where this kind of money is going to come from. It's big money, and you're in a tough situation. So Anyway, it seems interesting to me, that budget, so thank you.
Petro, thank you again. You know, like I said, you know, the 0 to 3 over at Nyland Acres is really working great. You know, in the past, I was part of the first 5 commission, and you guys are doing a great job, you know, from 0 to 5, you know, and to getting the kids to be ready, you know, for school, and also help the parents and so forth. So I commend you for your good work, and the whole board for that matter. So this is a receive and file?
And I think about how our public health director tells us the best thing that we can do for the health of people is to see that they get a good education, because that improves their lot in life, and that allows them to have better paying jobs, and everything just starts with education. And so being able to do that early in life and get children on the right track can lead to better economics for them in the future. So it's just a real key.
Supervisor Long and then Bennett.
Well, and I'm on the board for this one as well. You guys just keep laughing. I'm on the board of this and that. This one's very passionate to me as being a school board member, and understanding the dollars that we get from the Department of Education, and the focus now on the TKs. Trying to get early education is a huge push for us. And so the feeling of the board is to make sure that we are educating those that we need. I know that the fund balance will be depleting quicker than we would like. However, there is an issue is making sure those NFLs are continuing to run, and we're reaching those kids that we can. So there is a strategic plans in place that we're trying to figure out where we can get additional funding, or the pleading to the Department of Finance to provide additional funding. So that's also part of the plan as well. Thank you.
Supervisor Bennett.
Thank you. Good to see you here, Petra. And I hope things are well at the commission with your dramatic, leadership change and everything else, and that everybody's doing well. I think the 2 big takeaways that we have are that just like we have a growing number of seniors that we're going to have to care for out there, we also are going to have, with First 5 cutting back, potentially not, if you don't get this outside funding, we're going to have a child care crisis, and we're going to have a preschool crisis. And both of those are such important investments in our young people in the future, and we just need to be aware of that as First 5 gets to, when you cut back to $6 million budget, that's going to be a real challenge for us in terms of that. So anyway, we got to keep that one on the radar screen. It's really important for everybody to know that we have to have investments in preschool and child care for our low-income residents in particular. Thank you.
Supervisor Long.
And also, just to note on that budget, you are extremely streamlined. You are not a top-heavy group at all. And I'd like to thank the leadership of you. Congratulations on the executive director position. I really appreciate what we're going to be doing, and thank you.
Thank you, Petra. And as you mentioned, as the supervisor mentioned too, the impact's going to be the greatest to the most vulnerable children in the communities, that we serve. Thank you again, Petra. And
so I motion to
okay.
receive and file.
Okay, good. We need a second. Let's please vote. Okay, and that's approved. Our next item is item 42, is a public hearing regarding the adoption of resolution approving an engineering report, diagram and assessment, and ordering of a levy assessment of the Santa Rosa Assessment District. Dave?
Good morning, Chair Zaragoza, Supervisors, Mr. Powers. For the record, again, I'm David Fleisch with the Public Works Agency. Actually, before I start this, I'd like to take a moment and apologize. I forgot to do something fairly important in my last item, and that was to thank Trina for all of her help. She's only been here about 8 months and took over from Kathy Connell, who was a long time here and has just done a phenomenal job. And so I just wanted to thank her publicly in front of you for her great work.
And we commend Trina, as I mentioned before, with VCTC and Gold Coast, as far as I'm concerned. I know she's
so that was my bad for not doing it at the last thing.
Thank you for
people that make you look good, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing that, Dave.
So this item before you is to conduct a public hearing regarding the adoption of the resolution in approving the engineer's report and confirming and ordering the levy of assessments for the Santa Rosa Road Assessment District. This is the 12th and the second last year of this assessment. The assessment for this year and next year are to collect the assessment district's portion of the control systems replacement project that your board previously approved. Pending any questions?
And I'm going to open the public hearing. I don't have any speakers on this item. So is there any speakers on this item? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board? Got a motion and a second.
Or you motion.
Please vote. Okay, and that's approved, and thank you, Dave. Item 43 is adoption of resolution approving engineering report concerning vector-controlled benefit assessments, confirming the assessment described therein, and authorizing the levy of vector-controlled benefit assessment.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Powers, I'm Bill Stratton with the Environmental Health Division. The item before you is the annual levy of the countywide vector-controlled benefit assessments for 2017-2018. The recommended action is to adopt the attached resolution, approve the engineer's report, confirm the assessments that are contained in that report, and then authorize levy of the benefit assessments. The report recommends a 2% increase moving forward this next year. That calculates to about 10 cents annual. And we have John Bliss from SCI Consultants who prepared our engineer report if you have any questions about that assessment. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? We got a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, everybody voted? Thank you, Bill, and that's approved. Our last item is the adoption of a resolution declaring the County of Ventura will continue to support climate action to meet the Paris Agreement and direct the County Executive Office to register the County of Ventura as a signatory to the We Are Still In an open letter to the international community and parties to the Paris Agreement from the U.S. state and local governments, universities, businesses, and invite and encourage other California counties to support this effort. Supervisor Bennett.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Supervisor Zaragoza. And I have just a couple of PowerPoint slides, very brief. This is the Saturday, June 3rd, 2017. California takes lead to honor Paris Accords. Across this country, there have been many local governments and state governments that have stepped forward objecting to and concerned about the United States pulling out of the Paris Accords, negotiated with all the countries in the world except for 3, and and the reason you could get that kind of unanimity across the world is because the science is so clear that this is the challenge of the century for us in terms of trying to deal with this. So I appreciate Mr. Baldwin here, who used to be the head of our air pollution control district, and he's dedicated a lot of his time in his retired life to working on this issue, and he provided us with this next slide, and let me click onto that. There we go. And this slide has great statistics in it, but the biggest takeaway from this is the idea that you can't decrease your greenhouse gas emissions, that if you do, it's going to cost you, in terms of significant economic problems, is just dispelled with this. Our GDP has gone up smartly since 2000, and our greenhouse gas emissions have dropped since 2000. So you can do both, and I see a sign out there that says green jobs, and that is going to be the wave of the future. I don't think it's a surprise that, in fact, a number of countries in the world are really banking on sort of taking leadership in terms of these green jobs and stuff, but moving away from fossil fuels. So there are, as you saw that last headlines with California taking a lead, but there have been, up to this point in time, 289 cities have joined in. 9 states have joined in. Nearly 1,000 businesses, 200 universities have all joined in on the all-in agreement that's out there. And so this is a resolution in support of that. And I would like to have, I hope that the board would support this today, because I think that we could then take this and try to get as many other counties as possible to join this. There have been a large number of states and a large number of cities, but not that many counties that have signed on board yet, only 3 nationally. And I'd like to try to get all of the counties in the state of California to join this. So thank you very much, and
So we have
a number of speakers.
We have I have about 5 speakers, and we'll give 5 minutes each. And of course, if you don't have to take all the 5 minutes, but we give you 5 minutes. Well, we have 6 speakers now. And so we'll start off with Richard Baldwin, followed by Angus Simmons.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a long time since I've been here. My name is Dick Baldwin. I'm here to support the resolution for climate action to meet the Paris Agreement. And as some of you know, I was a Ventura County Air Pollution Control Officer from 1982 to 2002. I've spent 45 years working in air pollution control, over 30 of those years as a regulator, and in the past 15 years I've also been doing some consulting work. Towards the end of my career here, scientific research on global warming and its resulting change in our planet's climate became a public concern. Reports from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, made up of hundreds of scientists worldwide, put climate change onto the worldwide stage. The studies show that climate change is already causing environmental changes that are beginning to have major economic, health, and social impacts in our world. The majority of the increase is being caused by human activities that generate greenhouse gases. The sources are many and diverse. Cars, power plants, heating our homes and water are just a small sample of greenhouse gas sources. It is a complex process, but one thing is sure: climate change is real. There is hope, and that hope is with the gradual change we are making toward using clean, renewable energy, primarily generated by wind and solar sources, and then using this energy to replace fossil fuel energy. The cost of clean electricity is becoming cheaper than fossil fuel electricity, and those costs keep coming down as technology advances. The county is a prime example of how to do this with this large solar array right out here in the parking lots. As Supervisor Bennett indicated, as of last Saturday, 289 mayors across the country have signed on to do just what you are considering today, and 47 of those cities are in California. I hope your action today will spur our cities, who are not on that list, to also join with you. You can help lead the change that is needed by adopting this resolution to show that Ventura County is committed to reducing emissions that are leading to global warming and climate change. And thank you.
Thank you, Dick.
Mr. Baldwin, again, thank you for sending those statistics and your leadership with this. 2 things I wanted to also mention. Number one, the commitment to the Paris Accords. The reason that you have all the countries in the world essentially signed on to that is because it simply establishes that this parameter, that each country needs to establish their own goal, and then they need to report on that. This isn't a mandatory thing. There isn't some penalty associated if you don't. It just means that we're all recognizing that we're in it together, and we're going to make an effort. You create a goal, and then the only other thing that's required is that you report your progress on the goal. It's the way they got everybody on board, and so committing to this doesn't lock the county into something that's going to penalize the county in the future. It just says that the county, like everybody else, should have a goal, and we should report on that goal from time to time. That's just the essence of that. But if we don't take even that first step, you'll never get the kind of global action on this climate change that we need out there. So I really appreciate people appreciable being here today in terms of the focus on this as we go forward. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Angus Simmons, followed by Steve Nash. If,
Honorable Chairman Zaragoza, honorable supervisors, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning on this very important topic. I am a community advocate for community choice energy with Ventura County Energy Choice. As many of you know, community choice energy, or CCEs, have already been adopted by 8 jurisdictions in California, covering over 1 million residents, and look on track to be covering 1.9 million residents by the end of the year. These jurisdictions have moved forward, and some 80 others are considering adopting CCEs in California because they've been effective in speeding the rate of adoption of renewable energy, of lowering greenhouse gas emissions, and in many cases helping communities meet their climate action goals, as well as stimulating investment and employment. But I'm here to talk about the Paris Accord today. And as Supervisor Bennett mentioned, every country in the world, except for Syria and except for Nicaragua, which thought the Paris Accord didn't go far enough, have all signed on. 7 out of 10 Americans, polls show, support the adoption of the Paris Accord. And of course, 97% of climate scientists believe that climate change is real. The administration seems to think that the Paris Accord is a job killer and doesn't believe in science. But we in California know we have 500,000 clean energy and renewable energy jobs, 10 times as many as the number of people employed in the coal industry in the entire country. China knows that it's not a job killer too. They find being a member of the Paris Accord very compatible with their economic and climate and desire for leadership in the international community goals. And of course, China has 3.5 million jobs in clean energy and renewable energy. And they're obviously very well placed to move forward and take advantage of opportunities in that sector in world markets. So by all means, let us opt to support the Paris Accord. Let us show that Ventura is moving and looking towards the future, mastering new energy technologies, and let us show that we care about the environment. Let us show our children that we believe in science, and let us show that we want to work together with domestic and international partners and neighbors to meet the global challenge of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Nash, followed by Bruce Schott. If you're next, you can move up front, Bruce, you can move up front too, for
Thank you, Chairman Zaragoza, and supervisors, staff. I hail from the great city of Oxnard. And I do want to reiterate that the sooner we move towards community choice aggregation, the better for us all. Time is running out. We need to transition to a green economy. I'm getting real sick and tired of political hacks standing in the way of our inevitable transition to a green energy infrastructure. This creates jobs while saving the planet and saving our children. Hydrocarbon, we all know by now, kills people. The President's rejection of the Paris Climate Agreement is a disgrace. He has shamed us before the world. This is a fact. This board allows fracking and other enhanced extraction techniques within our county that potentially has catastrophic consequences for our immediate environment. And while we like to think globally, obviously we need to act locally. And why would the board do this? Well, money talks, doesn't it? And in Ventura County, it positively screams. In Oxnard, we are fighting the construction of yet another outdated polluting power plant. I know Chairman Zaragoza wrote a letter supporting the people who oppose the Puente Power Project. I would really like to see the entire board submit a letter also opposing the Puente Power Project. There are other energy options besides burning planet-cooking hydrocarbons. We do not have to bow before big oil anymore, and we shouldn't. Today, you have an opportunity to make a largely symbolic gesture regarding the future of our planet. Yet, symbols can wield great power and influence. We know this. Stand with us in our efforts to save our world from simmering in a glaze of hydrocarbon-generated greenhouse gases, or get out of the way. There is no longer any question or debate. For anybody who tries to educate themselves, there is no question, there is no debate. Global temperatures are rising because of anthropogenic activity, primarily the burning of fossil fuels. You cannot challenge the scientific reality. Alt facts and lies have no validity in this matter. Do this for us, do this for our children. Soon, very soon, they will ask each and every one of us who had an opportunity to make the right decision, what the hell were you thinking? Get on the right side of history, please. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Bruce, followed by Sava Flam, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Bruce.
Good morning. My name is Bruce Shoppy, and I represent the Ventura Audubon Society. I'm glad that Ventura County, through our Board of Supervisors, is ready to loudly proclaim we are still in. Audubon's focus is on birds and their habitat. Birds are the canaries in the coal mine, so to speak, forewarning us of the consequences of climate change. Nearly 1/2 of the species of birds in America are threatened by a changing climate. Audubon's climate change report highlighted these threats in 2014, using more than 100 years of citizen science data. Audubon supported the Paris Agreement and has bemoaned the decision of the current administration to withdraw. It is important that Ventura County, along with the state of California and others, continue our efforts to reduce greenhouse gases and support climate action. We appreciate your leadership in supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Sava Flam, followed by Richard Francis. Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Sarah Flam. I am a resident of Ventura County and a social worker here. I want to thank you, Supervisor Bennett, for taking a stand for a stable climate, which is a public trust. A group of youth under Our Children's Trust sued our federal government in an effort to reverse climate change and to draw down carbon dioxide levels to 350 parts per million by the year 2100. The children demand a future in which they can enjoy, quote, life, liberty, and happiness. The U.S. District Judge Ann Aiken wrote, exercising my reasoned judgment, I have no doubt that the right to a climate system capable of sustaining human life is fundamental to a free and ordered society. The case now goes to trial. Today, I celebrate our county affirming our responsibility to do our part in reversing climate change and supporting life for ourselves and all our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Francis, followed by Nikki Spina.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Richard Francis. I live here in Ventura. My center of gravity is Ventura County, and I'm here personally to say I'm not only still in, I'm all in. My electric vehicle is in your parking lot, 230-mile range. It's incredible what we can do now. I'm also here as a board member of the Environmental Defense Center. Although EDC is centered in Santa Barbara, it's got a significant presence here in Ventura County. I'm on the board, and one of our current almost victories is the Puente, say this 3 times real quick, the Puente Peaker Power Plant. It's now been, it was on a fast track to approval. Now we understand that there's going to be a study to analyze the potential for renewable energy to replace it. And I think it's got a real potential to be successful. I know that's of significant concern to your chairman, and it's a significant concern to the rest of the county because the wind blows from the ocean in, and it gets trapped in Simi Valley, and so pollution that happens here in Ventura County affects the whole county. So it's really important that EDC continue its work. I was asked specifically by the board to represent them here today, and it's a pleasure to do so because I am certainly all in. There may be a hoax in our politics somewhere, but it's not global warming.
Thank you. Nikki Spina, followed by Kitty Merrill. Nikki?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki Craig. I just wrote some notes on my phone right now in between handing off markers and blueberries, so this will be interesting. Instead of sitting up here and talking about what's happening in the world, I want to talk about Ventura County and what I think we should do. This is a special place. We all know that. From our beaches, it's the only place where you can go in Southern California where you're driving to the beach and you see green hills. And then on top of it, you could get the best world's fish tacos ever. And there's a debate about where it is even on top of that. Snapper Jacks, Spencer McKenzie's, or Beach House Tacos. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about fish tacos, but it's no secret either that our beaches are going to be affected the most because of the gravitational pull on the water. This just came out as a study a couple months ago in Scientific America. And this place, I think that we should demand not only to pass this resolution, but to come out with an aggressive, extremely aggressive climate action plan that not only sets the stage for California. As we know, California is setting the stage for the world. So by doing that, we would be setting the stage for the world that's saying this county that is amazing with its beaches. I haven't even mentioned the Los Padres Mountains in Ojai, which is a beautiful source of nature for everybody. To come out and say, look what we're doing. Look how amazing this county is. And look at how amazing our Board of Supervisors are for taking this on. And it's what your voters want. It's what we want. It's what our kids need. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kitty Merrill, followed by James Merrill.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
here today speaking for myself, for the Climate Hub, and for my church, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. For me, the environment is a matter of my faith. Our seventh principle calls us to recognize the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. And the Paris Accord takes steps to do that. While it's a symbolic act, we're not changing things. We need some positive symbols in our lives. These golden shirts, they stand out in a crowd. Unitarian Universalists are not the most dominant religious groups, but when we come together at our General Assembly in New Orleans next week, we will have group actions and we will be standing together with our notable shirts. I think that same sense of symbolism and the importance of it is what we need to look at today, and I urge you to support number 44. Especially, Kelly, you're my new representative. I'm looking forward to seeing how you do. Thank you.
Okay, James Merrill, followed by Johnny Johnson.
Hi, I'm James Merrill. I live in Southeast Oxnard, and I also currently serve as the president of the Board of Trustees of the Pacific Southwest District of the Unitarian Universalist Association, which that nice lady just mentioned. The co-presidents of our national Association of Congregations have issued a statement strongly condemning the administration's choice to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, and I'm here to reflect the National Association's view on that. Support for this resolution that is before you would be very consistent with our seventh principle, which, as Kitty just told you, is respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, and I urge all of you to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Johnny Johnson, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Carmen Ramirez. Mayor Pro Tem. Well, we have the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, followed by Mayor Pro Tem. Johnny Johnson's the mayor of Ojai.
I am here in support of the resolution, what Dick Baldwin has said, what Supervisor Bennett has said, and my reasoning is not so much based on political partisanship, but is an affirmation of our belief in education, our belief in science, and accepting our responsibility for whatever we're contributing to the problem and a willingness to try to do something about it. It's not mandatory, but if we don't at least set that as a goal and establish our values, we haven't done our part.
Thank you, Johnny. Now with the Mayor Pro Tem of Oxnard. Carmen Ramirez.
Thank you. Thank you for this historic opportunity. I'm here today representing myself. I'm not speaking for the rest of council, though I would like to remind you that our entire council, we don't always agree, moved to oppose the building of another power plant on the Oxnard Beach. And we are making progress, as Mr. Francis mentioned. We're very encouraged that the California Energy Commission is going to see that everything has changed. The world has changed, technology's changed, and we have to be part of the future and not a part of the past. We're a coastal community. We're going to be severely impacted, and we have to prepare for it, for climate change and sea level rise. We cannot put our critical facilities anywhere near the coast. I support this resolution. Words matter, and whatever the current administration believes or feels, the market is going to make everything change. We know there are more jobs in the green economy, and we have to go with it. A few years ago, quite a few years ago, people resisted the combustion automobile. They thought, no, we cannot. We have too many jobs in the buggy whip department, the carriage department, and we need all that horse manure for our farms. Well, we maybe still need that. But we have to get with the future. It is going to make a difference. We humans are also an endangered species, and at some point, our children, grandchildren, and beyond are going to say, what were you doing in the war to save humanity and our species? It's about our health. And I encourage you to be the leaders, which you are. Be brave, be bold, think of the future, and think of how we will all be judged in the time that comes. Thank you very much for putting this on the agenda.
And you can hand your card to the clerk here. That's the last item that speaker that we have. Supervisor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. I'd just like to thank all the speakers. Each one of you seemed to hit on a different aspect of this, and they're all really important. Two things that I'd leave the board with before we entertain a motion is that we will have a big impact, as I said in my board letter, here in Ventura County in particular with our coastal exposure. And the other thing that for the benefit of people who don't have it, our county back in 2009, we adopted as a numerical target for us to be 15% below our baseline, and we identified 2005 as our baseline for greenhouse gas emissions. Our staff is analyzing the results from Edison right now, and they will be coming back in September with a report on how we're doing on trying to reach that numerical target. So we have some background there in regards to this also. So I look forward to any comments from board members before we actually make the motion on this. And again, thank you very much, everybody, for taking time out of your schedules to be here today.
Thank you, Supervisor Bennett. I'd like to share a couple of comments. You know, the reduction in emissions, I think, is extremely important. I have some facts I'm looking at here is that it'll prevent about 5,000 premature deaths and billions of dollars in health costs that are going to cost us if we don't do this. Also, I think it's beneficial because it'll reduce asthma risk. It'll reduce hospitalization, premature death. It'll reduce a tremendous amount of anguish, to families. It'll strengthen our leadership here in the world. I think it's extremely important. California has been the leader in many aspects. So there's quite a few things. Reduce methane, divert organic waste from landfills. It'll reduce high global warming. There's a multitude of items that I have here. I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm here to support this item. Supervisor.
I certainly do support the item, and I want to thank Jan for her great signs. I see them out there. I sit on the Ventura County Regional Energy Alliance with Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez also. And as that, we're also looking at getting the community choice aggregation here in Ventura County. We have a study that we are working on with the counties of San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara to look how we can start using the power lines out there, but using them for renewable resources, and preferably local renewable resources, and ones that could actually replace the need, certainly, for the power plant in Oxnard, too. The Paris Accord is important. It is symbolic also, but at least it acknowledges, which I don't think our president does, that climate change is real and the impact that it will have. I think we do need, as someone mentioned, positive things in our lives, so I do appreciate this coming forward because it is very positive. One minor thing I would put in here, it does say in the resolution that both Syria and Nicaragua have abstained from it because of it didn't go far enough, but I think we need a comment there. I doubt Syria is very concerned that it didn't go far enough. But overall, I think that we need to do what we can in Ventura County, both as a government agency, to reduce our carbon footprint, but also to encourage others. I know I've talked with the mayor of Thousand Oaks and other cities that can also follow in this wake. 50 cities so far in the nation have signed on to this, so I think the more we can get on there, the more representative truly we'll be of the residents and the better our climate prospects are. Thanks.
Okay, so we need a motion to get a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, and it's approved.
Gosa?
Yes, sir.
We've had a request from Jan that, and since this is our last item, for at least the supervisors that are interested, they'd like to have a picture here in the boardroom, so I want to invite the supervisors that are interested in being in the picture to meet down here right after we adjourn this meeting.
And then we'll go to closed session from this item. And are we going to have any announcements, Leroy?
Mr. Chair, no announcements.
Okay, so we'll probably...
So if the people would like to come down to the front, if you're interested in being in the picture, right?